Brett Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 terror boards over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with and talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
The second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Port Royal Speedway. We've got Devin Gordon with us.
At Keen Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keen.
Sitting here with Sean Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
What is going on? It is April 28th, 2025. It is a beautiful, warm spring Monday. I am Jimmy here with Jay-Z and special guest Chris Lynn.
Hey, let's go, boys.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, on Monday, we got a great show planned for you tonight. We will have the Chaz, the one and only, calling in. Jay-Z, we'll get to this in a little bit, but you called in last night. You guys have had some back and forth, so excited to bring him on. And we're going to talk about a lot of things. It was a crazy week. It was a very, very crazy week.
It is a roller coaster of a week.
We'll talk about BAPS yesterday. We're going to be talking about Port Royal. The Outlaw shows coming up Outlaw tune-up shows coming up this week here in Central PA, and much more. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Santos, Matt, Steph, Marie, Randy, Santos, EJ, what's going on? Let's go Sheldon Hodenshield. Congratulations on a good win on Saturday night there. Mandy, what's going on? Matt says, holy fuck, Chris is back. And Chris does not have the drums with him tonight.
I just broke my trash can.
He has a trash can.
Shit. It's not anymore. Not anymore. I broke it. I'm sorry. I thought it was a drum.
How you guys doing tonight?
Very good. Ready to go. This is going to be a fun one, I think. I hope.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
I'm just here so Randy Cobb is happy. Randy, you said I was your hero. I love you, buddy.
Matt Trace, what's going on? Stolfus, what's going on?
Just so we're clear, I did break the trash can.
You did break it.
That is not good.
So I guess we'll jump. The Chaz will be joining us. He'll call in here at some point, and we'll talk to him. We'll get to know him a little bit more. I know some of you guys probably know him for better or for worse. You know, we're gonna learn a little bit more about him, and we're gonna go a little bit back and forth on just some topics, some hot topics in the sprint car world.
I got a cat.
You got a cat now.
It took me days to catch this thing. inconsequential.
Anything else? You got what?
He's bringing out all stops, man. He comes back.
We're 6 minutes in. You broke a trash can and found a cat.
The cat was there, and I snatched it.
Oh my god!
Matt even says Chris had one job: show up and don't break anything. Guess he could try again next week.
Matt, I'm coming for Beer Hill Gang because trash cans next week. Don't you worry about it.
He will. Brandon says Chaz has sorted up the different time zones. He won't be on the night. He will.
It's a hard knock life, Brandon. Come on.
How did you know that?
Probably because
he usually goes on he goes on later.
Brandon knows it because he's in the same boat. They're in the same boat with Chaz. Like he's just a little slow.
All right, let's get into the recap. We're gonna start right off. We'll start off with the rainouts.
I don't think Jeremy's happy I'm back.
We're gonna start with the rainouts. Put out the weather forecast. I really thought we were gonna be good for all 3 days. However, the rain did move in a little bit earlier on Friday, washing out Williams Grove. Unfortunately, and Big Diamond. Big Diamond was really trying to get their race in with the URC sprint cars. That didn't happen. It actually turned out to be a pretty good Saturday, at least at Port. Lincoln canceled pretty early. I think that's because, obviously you guys got a lot of rain down there, but then also with Port also running, probably a smart decision. Ben says, "Drink up, Jay-Z. It's gonna be a long night."
Yeah, I'm gonna go get my second one. I'm gonna go get the next one. I'll be right back.
I do like his hat though. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting hat. So let's go in to BAPS yesterday. We're gonna start there before we go into Port Royal and stuff, because this is the hot topic and the hot button issue from this week, and the reason why we're gonna have the Chaz on later. Obviously, when we the show last Monday, me and Jeremy were talking about Cale Thomas getting booted from the Shark Racing ride. Then it was announced the next day that Ashton Torgenson was going to be put into that ride, which came out of kind of left field. I started hearing rumors. I know we started hearing rumors kind of like after we got off the show on Monday, and then I'm pretty sure it came out late Tuesday. And Jay-Z, you want to take it from there?
No, not really. I don't want to get into it. I'm over it.
Yeah.
So listen, we talked about it on the show last week, kind of rapid reaction from Cale getting released, and I didn't love it. I don't love it today as much as I did that day. And it's nothing, honest to God, nothing to do with Ashton. I didn't like it from the minute. I mean, we go back and watch this show last week. I had the thoughts then. It didn't change anything with Ashton getting this opportunity. He can pay for opportunity. They can pick him for free for the opportunity. It is what it is. And there's been a lot of people that were called and called them. I had multiple drivers actually get a hold of me and say, I reached out too, whether they heard not or not, they heard back or not. It was a lot of people. Right. So, what I said was, I just don't like how the situation was handled. It's their team. They can do whatever the F they want with their team. I don't care what they do. I don't really care. But how you treat people matters. And from all accounts, from a lot of people in the racing world and in the circles, way more important than this little fella. It wasn't done. It just wasn't. It did not rub people in the racing community very good. And everybody was like, damn, Cale got done dirty. They can use the wrecks and the excuses all they want that's why it happened. They got that right to say that. Just doesn't see the timeline doesn't match up and add up. And they committed to Ashton for this past weekend. It sounds like they are going to put him in the car for Eldora now.
I would hope so.
Good for him, honestly. Like, he earned it. This was awesome. But yeah, the week was a little crazy, right? And I took a little bit of heat on my own page for my opinion of how this was handled. But a lot of people, more people than not, mistook it for my view of being a part of everybody kind of shitting on Ashton for this opportunity. It wasn't that at all. Good, bad, or indifferent. Lots of drivers who didn't do well in PA have gotten opportunities. We didn't like it, and they didn't do well. They did do well. It's a part of the game. This is what happens in the racing world these days. I don't really care about that necessarily. More Central PA fans cared about who was going in the car and less about the situation. I was not thrilled about how the situation was handled.
Yeah.
But people to went in there, and I was making a negative comment, and it was for sure, but it wasn't about Ashton. And that's why I had no problem last night taking this photo, giving the kid his props for the ass whooping that he gave Central PA. Because he
did
earn that. He didn't deserve anything. He earned that win. Every step of the way was earned. And from hot laps, time trials to the heat to the feature, that thing was on rails and it was awesome. So it's been a wild week, and honestly, I couldn't be more thrilled that he gets the opportunity to run at Eldora, because I don't know if I could do another week of this driver swap thing. Jacob Allen and the Shark Racing team. Chaz actually mentioned it on his show last night. I jumped on. They found the key to a lasting topic in Central PA for once. Usually 3-4 days, things disappear. This is now weeks. This is going on for weeks. So they found the key to it. It's going to continue unless Ashton's in his car the rest of the year, because the next switch, it's going to come right back to the topic, right? And that's fine. Listen, they built that reputation of being a popular team in Central PA that a ton of people follow, and for good reason. They're the hometown kids, man. They didn't race here long, but man, they're the Hanover boys, and they go out and they race with the Outlaws and they win, and they've earned that right to be liked. But I think how people get treated and how you treat people, it matters a lot. It's a people business as much as it is a winning business. And I just didn't love how it was handled. So simple as that. Again, nothing. Man, Ashton, what an impressive drive.
I'm with you, because I felt like Ashton kind of got put in the middle of a situation here that wasn't of his doing.
Yep.
He's taken a good opportunity for a good ride, and a young driver doesn't have that many 410 starts. I think he has less than 25. Or that might have been his 20. It's somewhere around there. And for him to go to BAPS yesterday, where there was 42 of the best sprint cars, you could say the only one that maybe wasn't there was the 69K with Ryan Smith, and then the Kreitz car. But everybody else who was anybody else in PA was there at BAPS. Huge field, great to see. These BAPS Sunday shows have been doing great. And he dog walked them. Absolutely dog walked them. So, run down real quick. Ashton Torgenson does get the win from 4th. Chase Dietz chasing him down. P2 won a heat. Danny Dietrich, your hard charger, from 14th to 3rd. Obviously, he's so good at BAPS. We expect him to be up there, but starting 14th, man, that's hard for anybody to overcome. Your heat race winners were Chase Dietz, Troy Wagaman Jr., Tyler Ross, and the Aussie back over, Ryan Newton. Good to see him back. He won a heat race. Lance DeWeese was 4th, Anthony Macri 5th, Wagaman, Zierfoss, Moody, Hartlob, and Doug Hammaker, your top 10. Billy Dietrich with a nice P11. And shout out Brett Strickler. He was pretty fast in his group. Finished 2nd in his B main. And did make this feature, so shout out to him. JZ, you were there for this race. What are your thoughts outside of Ashton?
Outside of Ashton, Danny Dietrich drove like a man possessed in this race. He almost had the race taken from him before it got started. We had an initial start. We had a jump start. Davey Franek went a little bit early on the initial start from the pole, came back. And on the next one, it was a very ragged start down off turn 4 and all the way down the front stretch. And somehow Tyler Ross gets backwards. Danny runs into him, jumps over, this, and I thought he was broke. I mean, from where I could see, I thought he was broken for sure. He wasn't. Rolled around. Front wing was pretty beat up and damaged. But when that thing went green, man, he was. Every time I was standing like entry to 3, and every time I looked, he's passing another car. And by the time he got toward the leaders, they were in lap traffic, and I sort of lost track of like, all right, what's going on? And it kind of leveled out his speed with the top 2, but man, he was driving like a man possessed for sure. Doing what he does at BAPS, and it took him starting 14th with a damaged car to run 3rd. That's how good he is at BAPS. And a late race restart, I don't know if it would have mattered. Ashton had him covered, it felt like. Chase was closing the gap a little bit in lap traffic, but it worked out. it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to get close enough to make a move. Kyle Moody had another good run, right? He's coming out for these time trial shows. He went 16th to 8th. Billy went +7 here. That was a good run
Who's
for him.
also-
Freddie went +10.
Billy's also in the chat here. He says, social media made way more out of this than it's worth. Let's get real, bro. Drivers used to get fired all the time. Some drivers got fired, hired, and fired again by the same owners. I think someone who recently comes to mind is Tim Schaefer. I mean, he's been in and out of that 49X car.
Well, him and Cale have swapped that around.
Yeah.
Cale got fired from the 49X a couple years ago. Fired. Now he got rehired, and then he quit to go get here to get fired out of this one. So yeah, they make it. Billy, you're not wrong. That made it out way more than it's worth, but this doesn't happen a lot anymore. Not this quick in premier rides. It's very rare for a driver to get hired, and there was no weekend commitment. It was like, hey, this weekend, regardless of the outcome, hey, if it goes well, you win both races, you might get another. It was, hey, you're hired. Here you go. And in 2 races, it's gone. So yeah, it's not the first time.
I also
it
think
doesn't happen very often in premier rides these days.
Going back to what you're talking about there, though, too, I think a big part of it, too, was Cale left a full-time, that 49X. He left that ride under the assumption he was going to be in this ride for
this opportunity, right?
To take this opportunity, and then for 2 bad races. And hey, listen, car owner could do whatever they want, absolutely, and I don't blame them at all. If it's worrying about spending a lot of money that they don't have, that's on Cale to take care of the car too. So it's just we haven't seen something of this magnitude kind of blow up.
Agreed. Santos, any word on what Cale's next move is? I talked to him. He has a car. He has one motor. It's not ideal, for like Eldora. He would love to be out at Eldora this coming weekend. May not be a great time trial motor for Eldora, but he's hoping to be out for Eldora. Probably lapped out in about 20 races, so he can run some this year. He's really trying to pick his spots a little bit, and see what happens as time goes on. So you'll see the 91 out at some point, unless he picks up an opportunity in something else. That was the last I'd heard.
And Jeff even says, yeah, but 3 races. Yeah, and that's kind of, I think that's where a lot of the discourse came from. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this when the Chaz is on in a little bit. I don't want to keep beating it. Other thoughts from this race. I watched the highlights. Man, did it finally had a top in 3 and 4 for the first time this year, it seemed like, because it was the other 410 races earlier this year, it seemed very bottom dominant in 3 and 4. Obviously, since they kind of reconfigured it a little bit with the inside guardrail and everything. But whatever they did with track prep, they had a nice. There was one lap where Ashton slapped the shit out of the wall out of turn 4. I'm surprised he didn't break anything. He hit it pretty hard, and you could tell on camera. But he was able to keep going, but that's how high up these guys were in 3 and 4, and that's what I mean. You had 2 lanes. It looked like you could slide people. It looked very, very racy. Prime BAPS. Very jealous that I wasn't there, to be honest. But it just when BAPS is like that, there's no better track in Central PA. There really isn't.
Yeah, it was good. They put the work in. They had the time to put a little bit of the work in prep to get it ready for the feature, and they know what they're doing. And I'll die on the hill, and I think a lot of people would too. If I'm going to see one lane, I'll put it around the top. Yes. At least we can get sliders and things. But this wasn't even that. This was cars a little bit everywhere. I saw Ashton go low to pass lap cars. I saw him go high to pass lap cars. Brock finished 7th here, and I think 2 laps in a row or 2 out of 3, he was over the cushion in 3 and 4, and I thought he was going to hit the wall. I thought he was going to roll the car because he jumped up over it, and it really shelves off at the extreme wall. You all right?
No.
Christ. It shelves off pretty hard up there, and he was just like hanging on, barely keeping it off the wall. So it was definitely, tricky for sure. I think some of the guys talked about it. It was pretty technical.
Yeah, it did seem that way. Marie asked, and this is going back, keep going back here, but hey, wasn't it a bad deal for him, meaning Cale, to leave the full-time ride to go to another ride? He kind of screwed that car Yes and no, not really.
The car owner told him to take the opportunity.
Yes.
The car owner knew that they had fired Kale in the past and said, "Dude, you can't pass this opportunity up. Go take it." So could
they already had Trey Jacobs announced in this ride before Kale was even announced in the 1A.
Correct.
So they had this all worked out. So there was communication there at least. So I understand your point, but at the same time, there was that communication.
Yeah.
So
and listen, what Marie says there, right? There was conversations happening in the background we're not privy to.
Yep.
There's things that happened in the background of this whole thing that I'm not privy to. I just happen to know the answer to that question. But that doesn't mean I know the answer to all the other things that went down that we're just assuming, right? Like assuming or putting pieces together and making statements out or whatever. So I just happen to know that answer, but that just kind of proves that we're just fans, right? We're passionate about what we like and what we watch and what we do. And we have opinions, good, bad, or indifferent. If it differs from the people who are the opposite side of it, so be it.
Yep.
If we all agreed on it, it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be exciting. We wouldn't go. It wouldn't exist.
Well, what's really terrifying is the whole chat thinks I'm dying.
yeah, everybody does think
I
you're dying.
We're all dying. All
Chris,
right?
are you feeling okay between the coughing and it looks like you're just a little
I'm
sleepy?
always
Joking.
sleepy. I'm always tired of their bullshit, and I cough
Why
a
he's
lot.
leaving the show?
Exactly. These two idiots. Jeremy started 3 fights in the last 2 weeks. Like, what the hell?
I didn't even try to.
You didn't even try it.
That's how good you are. You just
Of all the people that said all the disparaging things, mine went crazy. Like, of all the posts.
You had some bad luck. Let's just replay this. You both attacked Danny, apparently. I wasn't here, so I don't know.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I don't know what you said about Danny. I don't know why you guys attacked Danny like that. But then Danny just goes and saves Kale from a burning race car, so that didn't work out for you, I guess. And then we talked shit on the 1A. I said we this time.
And now you got Billy against us. I disagree with everything Jason
Yeah.
said. It's all bullshit.
Well, bully.
Listen,
Fucking bully Billy.
Billy?
No.
He's doing this on purpose.
He
doing
took
this on purpose.
Yeah, he bet on Chaz.
No.
I know. Him and I had a conversation today. We know.
I warned him at BAPS. I said, Billy, if you ever do something real dumb and the internet flames you for it,
Billy,
I'm gonna apologize. I'm apologizing in advance if I do it.
Billy doesn't do anything dumb. Billy's the GOAT.
I love Matt Trace's comment here. Why does Chris look like he's visiting one of those places Justin Tucker and Deshaun Watson would visit?
I would love both of those guys. Wait, never mind. I'm just saying. Jay-Z started a fight with Danny, and he pulls out Kale of a burning race car. Now he starts a fight with the 1A, and they go and win. Jay-Z, can you please talk shit on Lance Deweese so he can win this week?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, every single time.
Like, please.
It works.
Please.
Fires these guys up. Billy, listen,
No, leave Billy alone. Billy doesn't need your help.
I'm here for it. I love it.
A couple other just notable drivers. Freddie I saw that they ran 2 B mains.
They did. They split it. So many cars.
I thought that was pretty interesting. Freddie won 1. He came from 22nd to 12th. There's a lot of movers here. I was very shocked by Davey Franek on the pole. I know part of that's the redraw, but I guess he had a good. Did he win his heat or?
So they did a speed week format. So they inverted 4. He was on the pole with the heat. Won his heat. So when the heat, you get into redraw, drew the pole.
Okay.
So he was fast enough to be in the invert for the heat. Yeah, he had to have won it because he didn't start 4th and have. Yeah, so he won the heat, didn't he? He won a heat, right?
No, he didn't.
So he made the redraw, so he must have been fast in his group. I don't remember, honestly. I'd have to go back and look at the time trial results.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Ryan Newton looked pretty good. He had to pull off. He was running up in the top 5.
Third, 4th? He was
Third
inside
or
the top
fourth,
5, and he lost oil pressure. But sounds like it's okay. They're planning on being at the Grove Friday.
It looked really, really
It's
good.
all Seth's fault anyway. Fucking
Probably.
guy.
Troy fell back a little bit in this one. I thought when I saw him starting second, I thought I mean, obviously not being there, I'm following it on my race pass here, at Port. But, when I saw him up there, I'm like, man, this is a good shot for him to win here. Guess he felt like a little tick loose and slid back a little bit. But still a solid run for him, solid night. Any other final thoughts from BAPS before we move on to Port?
I just think Troy fell back because he's a big time iRacing NASCAR guy now. He doesn't really care. Like, I mean, I only bought this shirt because he won that NASCAR league race with us the other week.
Let's go to Port. And the Keith Cochran Classic, 15 grand to win, biggest paying race so far here in Central PA, up to date. And Ryan Smith in the 69K gets another one here at Port. And he's another guy to kind of walk the field. Just looked so good throughout. Over Chase Dietz, who was chasing him. Again, another 2 P2s back-to-back nights. Chase has been really, really strong this year. Lance DeWeese finishes third and was your hard charger from 12th. Anthony Macri. Lucas Wolf had a great run, finishing 5th. Troy Wagaman, 6th place finish, back-to-back 6 places for him for the weekend. Justin Whittle, Casey Kane made the trip out, started on the pole of this, finishes 8th. Danny Dietrich, 18th to 9th. And then Logan Wagner finishes and wraps out the top 10. Your heat race winners were Ryan Smith, Anthony Macri, Brenham Crouch, and Jake Parkland. Your quick time for time trials was Brock Zierfoss, and like I said, Lance DeWeese was your hard charger. Some other notables, Ashton Torgenson in his Port Royal debut finishes 20th. Ryan Newton in his first race back over here in the States this year finishes 21st. And Brenham Crouch finishes 13th. This was a fun one. The track was really good, but man, nobody was catching that 69K.
Chase Dietz keeps being Chase Dietz, right? And a new ride, whatever. And I thought he was trying to make an expensive night out of it, trying to win that race. He hit the wall right in front of us at least 4 times,
4 or 5 times. Yeah,
he was trying to make it real expensive for for the Stamen team. Props to him though. He made it fun. Ryan Smith obviously held serve and was just solid all night long. You love seeing Lance DeWeese though float that middle and just do his deal. I know Jimmy, you and I looked at each other. We're like, oh, kind of excited. Like, this is Lance. Like, we see Lance doing Lance things. It's like, all right, he's not dead yet. Just do not put dirt in his grave.
Yeah, Lance was. I mean, the only person that was not running the Lance line really was Ryan Smith. Oddly enough, in the 69K, just charged his way through the field. I know he was disappointed. He started on the pole of his heat, and Jay Parkland pulled away right on the start, and got a solid heat race win. Made Lance's life a little bit harder because he would have made a missed a redraw because it was a PA Speed Week format. Because who knows? Maybe he would have been up there, but he looked strong. There was a late race restart with about 7 to go. There's some debris on the front stretch, and Chase and Lance kind of battled back and forth for the first couple laps there after the restart. Chase then was chasing after Ryan Smith. And he was faster than him. He was ripping the top. Well, Ryan ran that middle, and coming to 2 to go, he tried to slide him in the 1. Couldn't really get underneath, couldn't really get past him, and just kind of washed up behind Ryan Smith, and that was kind of the end of it. I think I know he had to take a shot there, but if he would have been able to kind of somehow ride 1 and 2 up top again and get another run, I think he might have had him. But just kind of he pulled right up next to him down the front stretch off of turn 4. But it wasn't enough momentum to be able to kind of clear him for a slider. So it was just a tough spot for Chase. I think if he had one more lap maybe, but it was a hell of a race between these guys. There was a great 4-wide battle at the very start of this race between Lucas Wolf, Casey Kane, Troy Wagaman, and Ryan Smith right from the jump. It was 4 wide off of turn 2 on the leading lap, and great battles throughout. Lucas Wolf, top 5, such a solid run. He battled hard. He held Chase. He held Chase Dietz up. but he battled him hard and made Chase's life a lot harder to get up there, to maybe battle for this win. But hell of a battle from Lucas.
I want to take note. I'm going to say it wrong. Isaac from statement there talks about Chase Dietz destroyed the right rear wheel and a wing. Yeah, I could see how that would happen, but you guys are killing it. You're honestly fast wherever you go. Second place. How many second places has Chase Dietz had?
All of them.
So he won Lincoln opening day. Since then, has it been second place at Lincoln to Danny, second at Port, second at BAPS?
And he was in the podium every race until like a week or two ago, where he had a couple like 6th and 7th or something.
Right, and he went at 55, and they struggled there naturally, but that happens.
Yeah, what I like about these races, when Jeremy Elliott's at the racetrack from Sprint Car Unlimited, he interviewed Ryan and Chase after the race, and Ryan and Ryan talked about all four coming 2 to go, spun the tires real bad, all four kind of got out of the grip, and it gave Chase a huge run down to 1. And actually, they did interview Chase because Chase said, "I wish I would have redone it, let him do his thing, and I could rip the top."
Yep,
I had that momentum. He said, I just couldn't complete the slider down there. It didn't work, and he knew it was, either if he went back, he said he could do it again. He would do it different, but he was better there at the end. And I don't know if maybe Ryan, I'm sure Ryan wasn't running 100%. We could hear that car not running 100%, but he probably didn't think he had to, right? He's running, there was laps. He's in clean air. But he also said, I knew the 23 was behind me would probably be ripping the fence. And he was. Like, he knew what was happening, but I don't know if he necessarily knew, like, he's here. So, but he said he had a feeling something might happen when he kind of spun the tires, and it didn't work. Whoops.
Well, really, props to Ryan Smith, though. I think that exact moment we watched, I think going into 1, Ryan Smith, I'm not going to say chalk, but he shaded down for sure and prevented that slider. And Chase had to check up hard to kind of dodge it. So, I mean, just heads up racing by Ryan Smith there, and it's just good battle. Good battle, you love it.
Santos asked a question. Where is that? Where did that go? Where was Brock running when the right wing panel came off? That was the debris caution, by the way. That thing tore off on lap 1. That thing was crinkled up like a tuna can.
That thing is the
and that's 2
Joey
weeks.
Logano.
I don't know what it is, because that's 2 weeks in a row now at Port that pretty much Brock since lap 1 has had a damaged top wing. This one was pretty bad. I mean, that whole right panel was off, and for him to still finish in the top half of the field here was, battling in heavy traffic without half of a wing was pretty much the entire race was pretty impressive. But yeah, he's got to figure something out, because he seems to keep hitting. I'm pretty sure it's the turn 1 and 2 wall early in the race and damaging a wing. That's 2 weeks in a row. So he was quick time. He looked strong.
Quick time.
I figured he would have been a little bit more of a player, but that top wing kind of hindered his performance.
You might get into it. Is he still the points leader though?
He is. We'll get to that next.
Sorry, I'm new here.
Brandon Zirk says, Danny passed 20 cars in 2 features. Sucks he struggled in qualifying at both tracks.
Something I wanted to say, and here's where your fight's going to be. If Danny could figure out qualifying, he would never be back there. Same with the Outlaw show, same with everything else. This is the problem. We talked with Danny about this last year. He passes cars. He can drive a race car. We know this. But he cannot seemingly figure out time trials.
Yeah. And we talked when we had him on
the other week.
When we had him on last year, that's exactly what he talked about.
Right. And we talked and Freddie's the same way. And Freddie said the same thing. We have a package. We have figured out when, because we haven't seen it.
I do find
good news is Danny can pass cars. That's facts.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we're coming up to Outlaw Week here in 2 weeks, and if you
it gets harder
that,
when you get
Danny's going to be an afterthought.
Yeah, and the performance is there. I mean, it's not that they can't.
Yeah.
It's
right. It's just I don't know what it is. I don't know.
I do think You have.
Hi, Ant.
Oh, there we go. I think Jeremy's coming back. All right, let's bring him on. We're gonna bring him right in here. Our very special guest for this evening, the Chaz. What's going on, man? How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
What's going on? We got a 19 in the frame. Oh no. Oh no.
I'm a big Martin Truex fan.
Oh yeah, Martin Truex.
He also loves Dryden for some reason this week.
Corey LaJoy. I'm a big Corey LaJoy guy.
Really? That's
I love Corey
interesting.
LaJoy.
Right. Yeah. The mayor up top there. Oh God. What are y'all even looking at? Port Royal. There was a race.
We're going through this past weekend. We already went through BAPS. Do you wanna talk about BAPS?
No. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. What is there to talk about, BAPS? Seriously.
Pretty uneventful, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, very uneventful.
He's not
Nothing
wrong.
happened at all.
Nothing. Guy started up front and finished there, so.
I feel like there's more to that comment. I feel like he's gonna ready to attack Posse.
Sounds like 410 racing, right? Start up front, stay up front.
No, yeah, no, it was impressive what they did, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I said I thought I could do good at BAPS just because it's more in that short track wheelhouse, aggressive style, technical style. But, I mean, to win the race, I don't think anyone would have predicted that at all.
No, I agree. And we talked last night briefly, and at that time they weren't committed to him for the weekend, but now it looks like they are. So it looks like he's going to be in it both days. What do you think about Eldora and that car? I think that car has been okay at Eldora. Logan's really good at Eldora. He's been okay at times, especially when the bottom's been really good at Eldora over the years. But what do you think about Ashton and that car at Eldora this weekend?
Real quick, is there a link to this show? Is this live?
This is live.
This is live. It's
Message
on
me a
Facebook,
link
X.
so I could share it and we can get some more people in here potentially. Just
Oh, yeah,
message
yeah,
me.
man.
I got Jimmy.
I think that it's going to be a little. It's not just PA. It's not just locals. It's World of Outlaws is for sure going to be there. High limit drivers won't be. They'll be down in Texas racing in Arkansas. So I don't know. It could go good. It could go bad. I think what we may be seeing is how truly, how big of a gap there might actually be between teams that are used to World of Outlaw level and teams that are really good. Because that car, even though it may not have been a World of Outlaw, slam dunker, I mean, it's got some ability, almost more than the drive. I mean, cars are making drivers, it seems like a little bit nowadays too. So I don't know. I feel like there's that gap between these national teams and then these regional teams that even though you could have a Macri set up, for instance, it's still not, a operation like Shark could potentially have an advantage just because they're used to going to different tracks and doing different things all the time, and Eldora is going to be one of those places where I think, knowledge of what to do with the car more than how to drive it's going to help. I mean, they can get on iRacing right now and run all the laps they want at Eldora, so he can know how to get around the track if he's wearing an Oculus. But, I mean, I'm just saying, like, he can get some track knowledge that you couldn't do in the past, but the car is going to make the difference, I think, at Eldora. Most of the time it does.
Yeah, I think it separates a lot of, there's a lot of guys that can run Eldora that have the ability, but if the car isn't combined together, have both things, then you got problems. And then who knows what the surface will be like? We haven't really seen a 410 show there yet this year, right? We have nothing. They haven't ran one yet, so who knows? Who knows how that'll end up? So my question for you, sir.
Oh no, you got questions for me?
Oh, you're the.
Hold on, I just sent y'all. I'm
tonight.
sending links around. I'm trying to help y'all out here.
I appreciate it, man. You're the guest of honor, so I want to know a little bit about your background.
Oh no.
Like, I know you in the last few years. We've gotten a little bit more into the media thing. We started our show here. Been into pit area more the last few years and follow your content some and. But how did you get involved with this? Did you grow up around the sport? Did family involved, or just be a fan and said, "Hey, I'm gonna start my media deal"? How did this come about?
So it really started. Obviously, I think all of us we start going to the racetracks, and then I was into racing, but I had to worry about life and getting jobs and working and making money like most of us do. And basically was just technically a fan. Then there was an opportunity to do some announcing at a racetrack. I got into announcing, and then I've always had the mentality of trying to do the best and innovate and always think outside the box. So, within about a year or two, I'd already got some more control on doing websites for that track and a couple others, and then got into marketing and selling advertisement. Like I was one of the first guys in the South to actually bring in like title sponsors to race divisions. Like it was kind of like unheard of, but it just made sense to me. And I wasn't really studying like the North or anything. It was just like, well, NASCAR's the next Nextel Cup series or the Sprint series. Why not try to do the same? So integrating more sponsorships, more marketing ideas, and then pushing the sport actively. Obviously, I heard somebody talk about, I think it was Mike Joy, about NASCAR's how the sponsorship had changed from interacting with consumer-based products to business product, and it killed their advertising of seeing cardboard cutouts of people in stores and stuff selling products more so than just businesses trying to get into the garage and sell and do a deal to make sure you have the certain oil at all your automotive industries, or that's what's killing them technically, because that's how they're doing it. But I was about the fan interaction deal. I had cardboard cutouts of drivers made, and I tried to sell them to certain things, but I didn't really have any of the money to make decisions. I was just more the suggester, and if people wanted to potentially try something, I had ideas or something, but it wasn't like I had the checkbook to where, hey, I think this is a good idea, let's do it, and it would get done. So that's where I really started, learning about the media, the marketing. And then really some of the hardcore issues I got with the sport is, whoever's followed me, it goes back to just recognition and respect for the drivers, because I think there's a very big gap to the understanding by your common folk as to what this sport technically is and how hard it is and how much money's in it. And I remember so many times I'd put together a car show in downtown Dallas or something and reach all these new people. And I would ask some people from time to time, I was like, so how much do you think this, sprint car right here costs? And they'd be like, oh, it looks like it costs about $5 or $10,000. And it's like, oh my, the notion we're just a bunch of rednecks out in the woods driving in circles is a real thing. It's a detrimental label.
Yep.
And I think that I started really understanding the lack of education that is turning into less and less people in the grandstand. You are lucky in Pennsylvania, at least, but there's still people in Harrisburg that don't know what a damn dirt track is. They still don't,
Right.
even though it is as extremely popular as it is there. The best race car driver ain't got all the hot chicks following him. That's the, I don't want to joke and make any Courtney jokes right now, but I was saying the other day, or well, it was after the Indy 500. I went to the Indy 500 and I was like, holy shit, there's regular people that come to this. And it's like, if you had regular people in the dirt track audience, you wouldn't have to wait to find somebody's, girl that they got from the regular society to bring her on in. And then you got a poacher, because there would be fans and attractive women within our fan base that would want to do something. There's a lot of inherited issues with the sport to where we're just not reaching common folk society. And I think that it has to do with respect, understanding, awareness, all these different things that I don't think the sport even takes time to recognize, and then started doing my Facebook videos. It started pissing some people off. I did a music video. I did a talk video. The music video did all right. That was kind of my first time ever actually playing a guitar on camera. And then the talk video pissed off some people at Texas Motor Speedway, which that's when I started learning the politics of the regional sports. Because it was like, oh, well, if you keep saying this, you're not going to be here type of talk, and all I was trying to say is, why do we give more respect for a NASCAR driver who's, flying home on a airplane on a Monday versus the dirt track driver who's potentially just as good, but he's, not paying his light bill to make it to the racetrack. Why is that guy getting that recognition versus the other? And that apparently it got some traction, but it got some traction to piss some people off. But regardless, they didn't like that. I had some shit happen personally and kind of spoke a little too much and just kind of ended that relationship between me and the track. I kind of got all the way out of racing at that point, tried to do some music stuff. And then after trying to do the music genre, I just sat back and I was like, well, music could be cool. I could be successful in it, but I started analyzing it from the long-term perspective. And in the long-term perspective, I don't even like listening to the same song every day. So I would hate to have to play the same song every day. Y'all got to think about that. Like even the biggest names, like Taylor Swift, for instance, she's got to go and play and sing the same songs and look like she's happy doing it.
Yeah. She's got to look like she's playing it for the first time for like ever, every time.
Right. But there's just no fucking way that's possible. So anyways, I was like, I'm just going to, I ain't got no leash on me to hold back what I can and cannot say. And I just went to a race shop I knew of, Smiley's Racing Products. Y'all may or may not have heard of them. It's in Mesquite outside Devil's Bowl. Mm-hmm. And there was a car on a trailer, and I basically just went the fuck off about, how the current racing system, all you have is a bunch of young guns. You ain't got no working man representation. And I think that's a big battle that propelled NASCAR, who I was talking to in general. I was like, your Dell Seniors of the racing world can't afford to get to y'all's level anymore. And all you have is the rich man, rich kid representation. And that's why nobody can relate to your drivers or your stars, because they can see that, this guy didn't necessarily pick up a hammer and nail his way to the top. But anyway, my first video ever on Facebook got like 90,000 views overnight. Like it was like instant magic. And then made a couple other videos in the next 2 weeks. One got 40, one got like 80. I think I made a video called Dirt Track Racing for Dummies, and I talked about the cost of each car and how much things are, and blew a lot of people's mind on that, and it got some traction. Then I made one video because through that transition of like separating from the track, I kind of looked into how certain systems operated. How did it go from once again, Steve Kinzer, 1984, winning more money than Dell Sr. to now all of a sudden to be a success, you have to go to NASCAR as a sprint car driver to make real money. And it really, to me, it came down to a cold trickle effect. You start thinking about when the sprint car stars died and why we're still living on Hodenschild and Swindells and Kinzers is because the icon of the sport switched in that time period to a driver from sprint car racing leaving and going to NASCAR. Now, just so happens the movie is supposed to be about Tim Richmond from Ohio, who, he raced everything, but it was about some young guy from California who couldn't afford to go to Indy and went to a car dealership's team. Somehow 4 years later, that actually happens. And this is when I started getting into the, more world political, or I don't even call it geopolitical. It's not even political, world rulership of the scenarios, when I started noticing the sponsors on certain cars too. And noticing the IndyCar scene was huge as well, because they were sponsored by PPG, for instance. Jeff Gordon was sponsored by DuPont. These were two petrochemical families who hated one another. The split of IndyCar kind of caused NASCAR to rise up. But regardless, I learned a bunch of stuff about certain corporations and how the influence and everything moves, and the collusion with Hollywood, in my opinion, to make changes in the media, because we're all in media. We know that media moves the masses. It makes people think a certain way, aspire to do a certain thing. Nobody wanted an orange Toyota Supra until, Fast and the Furious came out and made it cool. I mean, nobody really, they wanted a Trans Am with the gold eagle on the hood, but when fucking Smokey and the Bandit came out, everybody. So they do the same thing with products and series and sports. It's the same kind of thing. But regardless, I made a video talking about that, and that bitch got like 400,000 views. And that's the video where Kyle Larson actually came into there. I didn't spoke about Kyle at all. I already got like 2 million views in the first month of doing them. And he came in there and started talking shit to me because I was making fun of his NASCAR buddies. And he's like, oh, they're so great. You don't understand. And I was like, all right, motherfucker, you want to talk shit? I mean, and that's funny enough. That's how the Kyle Larson Chaz thing started, was Larson coming onto my videos and talking shit to me. which is funny enough.
Yeah,
but I mean, most people don't know that. That's the funny part, because I was trying
I thought
to
it was
ignore
the other way around. I thought, because I know you from the Larsonites thing, you know what I mean? And I thought that's just kind of what you're talking about, and then that drew him out. But I didn't know that he was in there commenting first. That's pretty wild.
Right, because my shit got so much traction, and it was really pro dirt mentality. And it was talking about how underrated dirt was and how overrated NASCAR drivers are, and the financials and the situations of how they get there and why our guys don't. You know, it's not because our guys can't drive race cars. I mean, they're manhandling 900 horsepower fucking sprint cars on a dirt slick track. I mean, it's possibly one of the most technical vehicles in the world to drive. I don't think most of them would have issues, you know, taking a 750 horsepower lockdown vehicle around a racetrack. I just think they're too yin and yangers, and maybe they're good in their own element. But regardless, I was just trying to bring to light how, hey guys, because this is like, I know people keep saying you're beating a dead horse, but this is one of the biggest psyops I've ever seen in my life. This NASCAR thing, like, there is literally no proof that this is an elite form of league of motorsport. There's no proof. There's not like the NFL and the NBA where everybody went and tried out and these are the elites of the elites. You know, there's no proof to that. But the world around us actually believes it as fact. Like, that's
it got TV contracts.
That's because of media manipulation, pushing certain entities. So when a little fat guy, I was skinny at the time, I went from 450 to 200. So when a little guy gets his little face on there and starts bobbleheading and it's reaching people and getting traction, you know, I think that's what caused Kyle to come in there, because I was, you know, making fun of at the time after he said that, I said his sugar daddies, because we know you don't love them. You're only with them for the money. But anyway,
it's hard to argue that. That's hard to argue that point.
What year was this kind of the
This
origin?
was 2017, when October 22nd, 2017. It was originally called Dirt Track State of Mind on Facebook.
Okay.
And so 2018, I consistently started doing my talk show videos, or talking videos. I did a talk show. I started a talk show with some local car or chassis manufacturers in the modified world. It's all fenders down here, so I was still in Texas at the time.
Sorry.
2018, yeah, it's horrible down there. I mean, it's getting better, but it's still pretty bad. And regardless, it was really more so talking about the local short tracks, because I think the local racing is still underrated. And y'all have a really premier local racing scene, but I mean, there's still guys down there in Texas running factory stocks, winning $30,000 races that I don't think if you put Kyle Larson in the factory stock, you could outrace him. So maybe he's pretty good. He should deserve a little respect too for what he's doing out there, or a modified or any of these things. But regardless, 2018 I did like 2 or 3 trips. I did my first time to PA, believe it or not, wasn't to a sprint car race. It was to the USAC Speed Week up there with the micros. And my first race there was actually to Lanco. And I thought that was some of the baddest ass racing I'd ever. I couldn't. That was the night that CV went on the fence. Yes, believe that was 2018. I believe Zeb Wise won his first national midget race that night as well at Lanco. So that was my first time to PA. I did some stuff in Indiana. I was doing like documentaries as well to kind of make money with teams and stuff. So I would, ask for a little bit of money to do like a little television. I called it Inside the Dirt. I had a show intro. I had all this stuff. It just took so damn long. People who don't make little bitty, and some of these episodes were like 45 minutes to an hour. And when you load up Premiere Pro and you drop in 30 or 40 hours of footage and you're getting it down to 20, 30 minutes, it's a hell of a job and it is not fun to do.
That's why I don't do videos, boys. That's why I stay to photos. I've
been trying to make a new intro video for a year.
Well, yeah, even like a really, I don't know if y'all have seen my little talk videos or anything where I'm talking about stuff and doing like an intro for an event like I did Bristol and some other events. But those things, I mean, even to get a nice little minute intro to a show or something is at least a 4 or 5 hour gig, at least, because you're working with so much footage. But after 2018, I was spending money renting a room, and I really didn't like where I was at. I was in Tyler, Texas, funny enough, right down the street from where Ultra Shield is, and I guess Darren Pittman lives there now. But 2019 came and I was just like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm just going to go. I mean, I'm just going to hit the road and try to make it. And so I hit the road in 2019, went to Florida, went to Speed Weeks, and I was going to Bike Week. And then there was this, some people remember this, especially OG Chaz fans. This was the year that Carson Elledge came out with the TMC car as well. I had a video. I was upset about that. And then some guy, I think it was Ron from the SprintCarFan.com Facebook group, had said some shit talk. If you were at Stockton this week, I'd whoop your fucking ass. And then I made a video. I was going to Bike Week. I was like, what the fuck? Let's just do it. So I made a video. It's like, I'll fucking see your ass this Saturday at Stockton, bitch. Let's see it. I'll fucking be there.
I remember that. That. You documented it like the whole way out, didn't you? At different various points.
Yeah, because I had to go from fucking Florida to Stockton in like 3 days. Dude, it was the worst. I went to Houston on the way. I made a stop. I had a buddy there who's a fan. He races asphalt down, which I might be doing some content around Big H Speedway, which is a track in Texas that's asphalt now, but it used to have premier World of Outlaw events back in the day. And they got some old footage. They might want me to make some stuff with them, but I'd stopped there, and then all I remember is like one night I drove all the way to like New Mexico and stopped to go to sleep in the car, and I woke up and it was like 20 degrees and I did not have the heater running, and it was like probably the worst wake up I've ever had in my life. And then that day, so this was the fucked up part about this, is it was like the creepiest scenario I'd seen in my life. Worse than whatever you had in your throat last night after the races. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding. I get up. I'm coming up from. Oh God, I can't say that around you now. I'm driving.
Fucking say it.
Free fire.
I think it's 99. I think it's 99. The highway that goes north on the Las Vegas or Nevada side there in California, it goes straight north. And I was trying to stay on the Nevada side because I'm trying to save money. Obviously, the gas prices go up a fucking $1 once you cross the border in California. And so I'm in the middle of the fucking desert with my old ass car, which has 450K on it now. It probably had like 270 at that point. Stop smoking weed, sir. Anyway, that's my job.
Jesus Christ.
I see him doing the vape. I hit the vape and I start dying. I'm sorry.
Rookie.
Need to check your coil, sir. No, anyway.
Dude, I'm all fucked up.
So we go. I end up going all the way. I did not, at the end of the day, I did not know. I was going to Chico. So it was a 2-night show, 2-day show with the Outlaws on the West Coast. It was Friday at Chico and Saturday at Stockton. So I was trying to go to Chico to catch Friday night race. And so I headed up. I got into Reno. And I guess the whole time you're going from Vegas to Reno, you're technically going uphill slightly. And by the time you get to Reno and you're going down 80 towards the Chico area, you're basically going down a fucking mountain on it. It's like riding some kind of ride or something. It's the craziest thing. You're in the top of these mountains. It was snow capped. It was cold at that time. I believe it was first week of March, last week of February. And so I rode through the desert so bad all day that the debris from the dust and everything was like the sun setting, like right in your eyes. It was like horrible because of the dust. And I was like, well, hell, I might as well, do the wiper. So I was in Texas, just went to Florida. I hit the fucking wiper and I ain't got the negative 32 degree windshield wiper fluid in there. So when that fucking windshield wiper fluid hits the windshield, it does you ever go to the Cold Stove Creamery and they smear it on there? So now I did that and I can't see where I'm going down this mountain now. And I'm looking at the little area that didn't wipe. And it was pretty scary. I thought I was going to die that day. I think I was live actually. That might be a live video still. I exited. I was going on to 20, which 20 goes straight to Chico. I was like, all right, I'll be fine going on this little road. And this little road was not fucking little. It was like even more twisty and twindy. You're 4,000 feet in the air. You could see the drops off the mountains. And I couldn't see because now there was shadows from the trees and lights hitting. I was on the wrong side of the road at one point. There was people honking at me. I almost drove off a mountain. I was stopping in the middle of it trying to wipe. I could not get this damn windshield done, freeze. And I finally came over a hill and there was a little store, and I hit like the e-brake and slid in there trying to get some Windex or something. So I bust into the store. Weirdest shit in the world. There's a chick in there. I don't know who she is. She's in there screaming at the top of her lungs, singing Britney Spears, Hit Me Baby One More Time. Creepiest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. I felt like I was in a psyop, regardless.
It sounds like a horror movie type of thing.
Oh, the things I've been through. It feels like you live in a movie. Truman Show may be real. I really think it might be. But no, I got it to Chico, and I missed the end of the race pretty much, and went to Stockton, and the guy never showed up. And that next week, I believe, is when I was calling him the Greek god Jim Chionius wanted me to go to Lincoln. And that's when I went to Lincoln to fight him or whatever.
That's what Matt.
And
first time was the PA was to come fight him for talking shit.
That was 2 weeks after that, because they went to PA after the West Coast swing, and so that was about the same kind of entertaining deal, and it just kept kind of going that way. 2020 I raced cars, and then 2021 I did Bristol. Their intro shows and stuff like that. But obviously you got the Larson stuff up and in there all the time, you know. I mean, Carson Elledge was really mad at me. I was going to that. I think you remember when Kevin Swindell was doing those indoor go-kart deals on Facebook, and they were racing all the non-wing guys. I tried to go to one of those, and they called the cops and kicked me out. But I mean, that's the little clique there in Indianapolis. We made up since then, I guess. Carson Elledge is cool with me, but it wasn't cool then.
That's quite a journey. So
that's just a little piece, but yeah. I mean,
that's just a part of it. It's just a couple years span, but like get to fast forward to 2024, 2025, you know, watching a YouTube show. I know you're still getting around doing a couple things, but what are you up to now? I mean, what takes up your time?
I mean, honestly, if you're going to do, and I actually had somebody's kid come in here and because their parents or whatever knew that I did this YouTube deal, and how do you do it? How do you do this? And it's like, if you really want to do this shit, it has to be a job. Like, you can't fuck around. You got to have your graphics right. All of my studio shit's custom. You know, all of my graphics, I made them. And to know how to do that, and then you can't just do a live show and be done. Like, you have to monetize TikTok and Facebook and all these other platforms to even reach more people, because sponsorship's where it's at. You know, I was doing manual labor to help a guy finish a project, as Broke Joe would say. And this lady came in trying to sell some internet to somebody, but their partner was like some sports management girl, and she was in Denver, and she works with a bunch of old NFL players, and she was like, all the old NFL players, they want to do this podcasting or talk show deal too. And I'm like, there ain't no real fucking money in it. You know, I think the biggest month I've ever had on YouTube's like 1,600, and that was with my regular shit and the Carson Macedo flip at Knoxville getting 250K, you know? So, I mean, those are like scratch off ticket months. You know, even this last one with Stewart, we got some great views, but it's under $1,000 on YouTube alone. But if you take the time and you do good shows and you get some sponsors here and there that are reoccurring, I hope I got a new partner coming up I could talk about. But if you want to do it right, you got to do the lives. You got to at least commit 3 nights a week. And then really those days in between, you need to go in there and take your whole 3-hour or 2-hour episode and go in there and make 8 to 10 minute clips out of whatever. So you got to listen to it all. Yep. Then after you get your 8 to 10 minute clips, now you got to go in there and put it into the cell phone format, so you can put those on TikTok and Facebook. Then you probably want to go in there and making, you know, some 3 or 4 minute clips out of all that. And that doesn't take like snap the finger. Like, I know they got these AI programs that can do that shit.
They're not as good. They're not as good as doing it yourself.
Yeah, and they just make so much mistakes, and they're never going to be perfect. You know, that's going to protect the market, you know?
Yeah.
So but, I mean, as you've kind of built that and grown that up, I mean, you also now have to keep up with the sport. You're not on the road doing it as much, and a lot of the things you learned on the road, and it was good times, but there were challenges. But I'm sure a lot of the content came from you being in these places. So how much traveling are you going to get to do, or do you have every streaming service on the planet at this point to try to keep up with what the hell's happening?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't think I don't have Flow. I have Dirt Vision. I mean, great. Luckily for me, you know, and it's not necessarily something you could pay your bills with, but it is something that can get you to some places as status. So, I mean, I can't go to the bank or go to, my Verizon and say, I'd like to pay my bills this week in status. You can't do that. It's just not possible. But you can, get sponsors with status. You can get opportunities at places to stay. You can get people who will help with gas or whatever to get you around. So I've had a real good, lucky opportunity and willing to travel on my own dime to run across or to interact or to entertain people who are willing to help that journey. I feel like sometimes people are watching my stuff just because, they may be 9 to 5, have a family, can't go and do anything. And they want to see what it's like to go around all these tracks and see what it's like to go to Australia, or whatever. And I've had a lot of luck when I spend my last dime, somehow shit just works. Like when I went to Australia, I just got out of a long-term relationship, fiance, ex at that point. And I had like $1,500 and the ticket to go to Australia was 12. And I went down to like $200 to book that ticket. I was like, fuck it, I'm going. I don't care. And then that night I talked about the Callum Perth race. And then the next morning at 11 o'clock, Trone's talking to me about getting Callum into the United States. And by 3 o'clock, we'd already had the deal done. And I got Callum on the phone. And now I went from risking it all with nothing to all of a sudden, we just got one of their biggest names over there, a ride in Pennsylvania. What?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And it's like through that, it spurred a lot of help to get different places and to stay and to go and to do things. So, traveling's tough. I mean, it's harder now than ever. I think the economy plays a factor in that just a little bit, and not necessarily the real economy, but the social or believed economy, because I don't think things cost as much as people are scared to think they cost, or as less or as more. It's just since the TV says we're in a recession or something's going bad, then they believe it.
Yep.
But I think in the current state, people are afraid to spend sometimes, and that can make it hard on gaining support. Or, in my position, I got Uber Eats on my phone. If I need some money, I just fire it up and go make $100 in 5 or 6 hours to keep going. But I feel like doing the talk show stuff is a part of what people expect from me. But then also I think, and I've heard it a lot, is people really enjoy to know that I'm going to the tracks too. And I'm at these events and I'm not just talking from a distance. I think that's something that hurts Dirt Tracker in a way. I've heard that several times, even compared to Jeremy. Jeremy's at y'all's tracks, at least, something that I do hear people critique about Dirt Trackers. He's not at the tracks. We don't ever see him, and I do think there is something with this sport, since it is so small, about personability that matters to even the viewing audience. So I do think there's a huge importance on me going to events and still, I guess, continuing the journey. Because there's value in the entertainment aspect of that journey. So it's still tough as fuck, though. I mean, as far as money,
yeah. I mean, it matters to a point, right? It still matters to help you get to these places or get back, and there's bills to pay. But you talked about the relationships and the status, and opening up doors and things to opportunities. With you've done some controversial things or said things a little outlandish at times, for sure, and there's obviously positives, but have you at the Texas Motor Speedway thing you mentioned, but in the last few years, do you also run into someone who goes, nah, or do you just kind of like, hey, I'm going to take advantage of someone who calls me? Or have you reached out to other people and they were like, nah, man, I don't think we want to risk the controversy or the drama or whatever comes with, right, a personality? Do you run into that sometimes as well? Or maybe you don't even hear it or know it, they don't call back or they don't call you? Do you feel like that still kind of happens?
Most of the time people, I don't really chase people, to talk to them in a way. Even the Tony Stewart deal, people don't really know how that happened, I guess, but that had been talked about for like 4 months. And originally when I first asked him, we had already been messaging back and forth, and then I messaged him, hey, you should come on the show or whatever. He read it, didn't reply. Well, later that night, I got a little drunk and I went off on Tony Stewart. I was like,
I love it.
You ain't gonna come on my damn show. Go. I'm pissed the fuck off. Here's what I'm about. And if you don't like it, it was one of those type deals. I had my drunk text moment, but Surprisingly, he responded with, "Hey, man, sorry, I got a little busy, and yeah, we can do something." And so that was still 4 months ago, though. So it still took 3 months.
Tony
It wasn't
Stewart's
so
not
simple.
busy
But
these days. He's
I just want to say that the Chaz motherfucked Tony Stewart and got
I
away
didn't
with it.
motherfuck Tony Stewart. I don't think I used
No,
that language, but I did.
Doesn't matter. Without using those words, you kind of motherfucked him, and I love it.
Well, I was a little upset that he just ghosted. I couldn't take it.
I'm with you. I love it.
Well, and I feel like a guy like Tony Stewart, and probably in my drunken stupor, I thought this as well. But a guy like Tony Stewart is somewhat of a passionate guy who gets fired up. So I felt like if there's any angle to this, if we're gonna have a real talk, here's the deal: if we're gonna have a real talk show, this is kind of like the determining factor right here. If we make it through this or not.
Poke the bear.
So
I love it.
It wasn't a poke the bear, you piece.
You kind of fucking poked the bear.
Okay.
What's funny is I actually DM'd Jacob Allen before they hired Kale because I heard they were hiring Kale and I was going to try to get Kale on the show. I didn't hear back from him. I don't think I will anymore. But anyway.
You should probably just get drunk and message them. It seems to work out.
No.
There's people who won't do an interview or won't do this. You know, I got Kyle one time or 2 times. The one time was at XR at Bristol, but that wasn't my shit. That was for XR. And then the second time was at Knoxville. And I asked them a particular question that I thought people wanted to know an answer to. You know, they started up High Limit, and it was supposed to be about helping outlaw races and all this stuff and getting the drivers more money. And they scheduled their opener Jackson had moved their Jackson Nationals to the week after the Knoxville Nationals to hopefully attract East Coast drivers who came to Knoxville to go right up the street the next week. Well, they scheduled the Lincoln Park race after the Knoxville Nationals on the way back to the East Coast. So I was like, what was the reasoning there? Are y'all trying to get guys too? And he just like went off because I guess I had said on my show, I was like, it just doesn't look good, guys. It just doesn't look good. Why would you do this? This is, Todd Quiring's not necessarily a guy you want to piss off, even though I've successfully done that as well. Which is the only track I've technically been kicked out of was Jackson at one point. This was after that. But Kyle got all pissy and shit and all crying, and then Caitlin had to come in there and get him. And, obviously mainstream media took it and ran with it and posted it everywhere. And now I'm a douchebag because I didn't, interview Kyle and say, will you please kiss me and like me? That's all these other interviewers do with them. That's all they do. They get, who the fuck really cares what the car held or felt like? I mean, who really cares about this stuff? I mean, what are these questions? What are they about? I mean, so I ask real questions to people, and if they don't like real questions, then they don't want to interview me. And once again, I'm not the guy that's going to stand in a trailer for 5 minutes and wait for you to get done. Like, it's just not happening. I mean, I can get on, and I don't ever technically want to be dependent on the drivers to create content. Because if you become dependent on the drivers to create content, then you technically have nothing. It's based on their approval or their willingness to talk to you. It's like, I don't want that either because that gives them too much power.
So I listened to the Tony Stewart interview, and I'll be honest, I don't know in the form that you were you in that interview. I don't know if I've ever seen you in that form, long form. It was, there was, funny moments, but it was a pretty serious interview. And I got to be honest, I was impressed with, you did ask the hard questions, the uncomfortable questions, but it wasn't in a way that was disrespectful. And you know him a little bit, right? I think so that maybe there was some comfortability there.
I mean, I never met him except on that call. That's the first time I saw him on a camera and talked to him.
I was super impressed with the interview, and it kind of led down even when last week when Jacob called into the show live and you asked him a lot of those same hard questions. It was so exactly what you just said is that's who you are, and it's different. It's a different media. It's media, but it's a different than you're just that cookie cutter, same thing.
Right.
Same thing.
Donnie Schatz calls it the Joe Rogan of dirt. Obviously, that's maybe close.
I love it.
I mean, we unfortunately recently, I guess we went to some states where weed is legal, so it has been on the show. But regardless, I'm just saying, don't get mad at me, Kevin. But at the end of the day, that's a slight. I'm not gonna say it, but it tries to be more real. Like I had a few people tell me last couple of days, they're like, the stuff Jeremy does and Dirt Tracker does, they feel like, you could almost get, if you write the same stuff, you could get anyone to get on the camera and say it. Like, they're not putting their heart or their opinion or their emotions or their passion into their content in a way. It's just like a news thing, you know, where I feel like when people watch me, and I feel like when I turn the camera on, I'm just saying what the fuck I think and feel. And here it is. And when I'm interviewing somebody, it's the same way.
Talking about Canadian pipelines and oil. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching here?
Well, I thought that was some good stuff. I don't know who won that Canadian election today, but apparently it's really important.
Yeah, it is. It's hugely important. I work sort of in the fringe of the auto industry with dealers, and the one dealer I work with is in Canada. And he was like, it's been a big deal because there's an interim president essentially until today, and he's running for a full-time election, and it's been a huge topic, like kind of like our election is, but it's theirs, right? So yeah, I forgot to look up what happened or if they even know the results. I mean, they probably knew the results.
But that's also a thing I want to make sure I do with my shows too, is I don't want it to be situated 100% around dirt track racing or even motorsports, just because it is so small. And I think people don't understand the benefits of it. Say I talk about a social issue or talk about something that happens politically or NFL thing or you know, something like that, and say it does gain traction, and now all of a sudden people subscribe to the channel. Well, you just opened up the door to a whole new slew of people who have never heard of dirt track racing that are all of a sudden gonna, next video that's up is gonna be centricated around it. I've already heard that, you know, new people kind of in the newer people, and that was a screenshot. The newer people that don't know the sport much seem to like my style a little more because it's more, you know, party, it's more fun, it's more entertaining, it's more uncensored, it's more in depth. And I guess with newer people, that's a little more important or cool than to hear the daily news of what's in the sport. Because if you don't know the sport, I mean, what's the daily news? Who's all these people you're even talking about? So I think that is an element as to why I try to keep it open to doing other things. Like even in 2020, when the whole COVID deal happened, I was in Chico preparing to do my first race, which it ruined that. I think it's 21 actually. And no, it's 2020. I was getting ready to run my first race. COVID came. It destroyed that. And I was still in Chico making money doing stuff. And Black Lives Matter started their deal after the George Floyd scenario. And they took over the city of Seattle and called it the Chaz. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I got my Chaz stickers together and I went up in that motherfucker. I mean, I drove all the way to Seattle. Everybody's calling me, all the people watching. They're like, you're going to get killed. Oh, my God. And so I walk in there into this Seattle deal. And first of all, it was so crazy to hear both sides of the mainstream media like label it as, you know, a gun zone war. And then like the other side was like, it's just all free love. And you get in there and it was basically like, to me, it felt set up. First of all, it felt like I was at a damn state fair or something. There were stages for concerts and vendors on the streets, and it was crazy. But I walk in, I got a cowboy hat on, all my Chaz shit, and this guy's like, "Hey, I really like that," or this black dude. So I walk over to him, start talking to him, like, "Yeah, I'm the Chaz. I do this in the racing world, blah blah blah. I saw what you're doing here. It's kind of whatever, you know, this, that, and the other." And I didn't know it, but apparently this was the guy who like took over the fucking place. And because I look off to the side and there's people taking pictures, and then I got like CNN tagging me on fucking Twitter, me and the guy shaking hands. It was kind of funny, but I'm just saying I don't want to always just keep the content racing only, because we have to really understand how small this is. And if we want it to get bigger, there's a whole world out there we got to start interacting with, or it's never going to grow, ever, period, ever.
Yeah, and you can't rely on the NASCAR guys or the guys that left to necessarily come back and keep it going or grow it or revive it or do whatever.
And they hit a lick with Tony Stewart. You know, the Tony Stewart era, when he would come to these dirt tracks, he was blowing these fucking tracks up. I mean,
Tony
he really
Stewart,
was.
Casey Kane, when they would come back, when they were in Cup, you know, even if they came out of it, they'd come back. And, you know, Larson's kind of that mantle right now of that guy, I'd say, and Bell. But he's
still kind of a fraction, though. See, I think Tony Stewart.
High. You know,
I think Tony Stewart was actually bringing NASCAR fans to the track. I think
Right.
Kyle Larson is bringing the dirt fan to the track. The
You're-
one who
oh, yeah.
usually stays at home and watches Dirt Vision and NASCAR and stuff. And then they show up when they know Kyle's going to be there. And that's the problem.
And-
That's the bigger issue with sending our biggest drivers off, is that we're literally cutting our own legs off when we get a Corey Day and we invest all these years in promoting the driver, and then we just send them off to another industry. Like, what are we doing? Like, if we had a World of Outlaw high limit tour right now with Bell, Larson, Corey Day, and all these guys with the current roster, we'd have the best product in the world. No one would stop us. But
Devil's advocate a little bit is Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell as big of a name if they don't go to NASCAR?
Well,
like,
and
you know what I mean? Like,
and that is and I've said this on my shows before. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We do not have promoters. I don't think we got promoters that are trying to sign shows. You know, we got promoters that are trying to make streaming deals. We got promoters that are trying to make sure the drivers come to the track, or this guy's getting tow money, so he's there, and we got this name. But we're not. I said it the other day. Tanner Holmes is only Tanner Holmes because the racing world has failed the drivers. Why is the drivers having to promote themselves?
Right. That's crazy.
Guess what the promoters are supposed to do? Promote.
That's crazy.
Promote
Crazy
the
concept.
show. And this is what I think that these promoters don't get. And I was saying this even back when I was working at the track and had pushback, and this is an issue. But regardless, you have to start looking at Williams Grove Speedway as like the Wells Fargo Arena. And then you also have to look at these sprint cars, these 410 sprint cars or 358s or whatever, as like guitars and drums. Okay, so the same fucking guitar that Taylor Swift plays, another motherfucker plays too. But it's Taylor Swift playing the guitar. And that's why people are coming. So you have to make the players of the instruments the stars that people want to come see at your arena. And nobody's promoting the driver. The star playing your show, your draw, is the drivers. It ain't their cars. It ain't your track. And there's a lot of ego involved. That's the biggest fucking problem, is the egos of the sport.
Yep.
But I think that we have failed promotional group in all aspects of dirt track racing. High Limit's the closest, but I just see them, pedaling off. I see High Limit kind of clicking up a little bit too much. It seems like they'll promote a certain little clique within the roster instead of everybody. But that's buddy systems, buddy systems, ego, control, power, money. These are kind of like the more so steering devices of where our sport goes. I think that's the bigger issue.
You're 100% right. And it wasn't that many years ago. I remember I didn't frequent Williams Grove every week. That's until the last 4 years, 5 years. I remember going when I would go to Williams Grove for an Outlaw show, and Casey Kane and Tony Stewart were there, and they'd have to rope off their pit areas so people didn't crowd in. And there were people like almost getting hit on pit road. They still do now because they're stupid. But back then it was the fan that didn't know any better. They bought a pit pass. They wanted to get close to Tony Stewart and Casey Kane. You get a fan, you get a big group around Kyle Larson, but it is not nearly the level that I remember it being 10, 12, 15 years ago in that pit area. So what you said about him, like dirt fans bringing dirt fans, I don't know if I ever thought about it that way, but that rings very like what I see.
Why do you want to go to the track? I mean, right now, if you got flow and dirt vision and it's 45 degrees or 50 degrees, or even dealing with the other issue of the fucking sport, which is fucking belligerent drunkism. I mean, who wants to go to these events where you got people just stumbling fucking over everybody?
So we're talking National Open for sure, and we've seen it.
I mean,
we had a goddamn ambulance to take a guy out last year.
Well, unfortunately, and that's something in Australia. It's illegal in Australia to go into the pits with being drunk. You have to blow a breathalyzer before you enter the pitting area.
That's amazing.
I mean, we don't have, and their fan. Me and Rico had a little discussion. I'm not saying Rico agreed or not, but I ain't saying he did. I said the biggest, because the Australian fan base is really like into the race. They're about the race. Now there's some that get fucked up, but most of them, they're into the race. And I think that's because most of them are sober. I feel like sometimes this dirt track fan base is kind of like the anti-social people who don't want to go to the bar and they just go to the dirt track to get slammed.
I agree. Because I mean, Jimmy, we've seen it in the infield Williams Grove. There's some people there who don't give a goddamn about a race car.
It's not just Williams Grove. It's
just anywhere. But I'm using that as an example. There's just some people that don't give a goddamn about a race car.
It's a big
I want to go back,
but that's also a thing though here.
That's about. I'm talking about the effect.
It's something that does bring people out though.
But
it also can keep a lot of people away
to see their racing family.
And you figure Port Royal has a fan zone. They had the fan section in the grandstands. They had the fan section in the infield. So there's that. So I see that. I want to go back though. We talked about both of you, Chaz, Jay-Z, talking about Casey Kane, Tony Stewart.
Okay.
When they first started coming sprint car racing again. The reason I think it was a draw because it was so unique. Right? Like we all saw NASCAR. We all saw Jeff Gordon.
I think NASCAR was way bigger then.
For sure. Yes, 100%. When Larson came back, we talk about 2020. We know why Larson came back and raced full time. All right. We don't have to dive into that, but we know.
Well, we also know why a lot of people followed him too that weren't even NASCAR fans.
For sure.
There was a political ideology alignment in that year, and racism was a part of one side.
Right. So I think there's still a draw now when Larson races. There's still a draw when Casey Kane shows up. But when Tony Stewart and Casey Kane were doing that back, 2010, 2009, whatever year, for sure, it was so unique. Because like, holy shit, there's a NASCAR driver here. And to Chaz's point, NASCAR was so much bigger then. It's like, holy shit, this guy's coming back. He wants to race a sprint car. This is cool as shit. Because all we've known was Jeff Gordon race a sprint car in 1987 and went on to win. When Larson came back, it was like, all right, we know why you're here. Yes, you've won everything since you've been here, but we kind of know why you're here. Sorry, but like, I don't know.
You can't go to NASCAR at that point. You couldn't race.
It's a little bit different. In the Corey days, like we didn't know what we had. We know how good Corey Day is in a sprint car,
but we don't know how to promote them to make them this big name.
Exactly.
There's that.
Exactly. I have said that these drivers leave this sport so they can actually get promoted
and actually get money and come back and do what they want. The Seabells, the Larsons, they're coming back. They love this racing. This racing is probably the purest form, driver talent, right?
Right.
Maybe wingless or whatever you can nitpick, but like,
we could have a successful fan base like the late models do. They don't depend on one NASCAR driver to show up, and they have the record crowds at Eldora.
They do.
Right. You're in late model country and kind of Fender country. How
Illinois right now? So yeah, I mean,
how in the hell?
He's in big buck country.
But how the hell do they do $50,000 to win crate late model races in the backwoods of Georgia? Who's paying for all this? Where's all this money coming from? There's random late model races I see around the South, and I know the big ones, the Lucas Oil and the but there's like these random races at times that have huge payouts. They'll get 27 cars. Where the hell's the money coming from? I don't see big corporate sponsors.
Well, I haven't seen a race that has just 27 cars that's 50,000 to win.
There was one last year somewhere in Tennessee, North Carolina, and it wasn't even a super late model show, and they had like 13 cars show up, and it was $12,000 to win. Like, that's not huge money, but that's pretty damn big money for a middle of nowhere late model race. I just there's a lot of money in dirt late model racing. Where is it coming from?
I think that I've always kind of said late models have a bigger fan base, but sprint cars are more mainstream. Yeah. Like more people, it's more of a popular form in the general sense, and I do think that is probably because of Gordon and Stewart and Kane. It's been pushed more than the late model stuff. But the other side of that is because the late model racing and fan base hasn't given a damn about being mainstream. They're superiorly large on the grassroots level. They're Bobby Pierce. I've been at late model races where Larson's there, and their lines for their shirts is long. Larson's line is short compared to the Bobby Pierce's and their guys. And that's big. The icon shift. Like I said, I think it went from a Kinzer Swindell to a Gordon Stewart icon shift for who's the big name in sprint car racing. Whereas late model racing, their icon in that era was Scott Bloomquist, and all the money and all the funds have went into trying to become that icon. Just like all the money in our funds that went into renting midgets and went into all this other stuff trying to make it to NASCAR. If all that money would have went into cars for the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series in our industry, we'd have more car owners and more engagement, more fan, more idolization of the accomplishment of being a World of Outlaw, champion or something. Where I think the late model industry just hasn't faced that. I also think that because they're not as mainstream and are a little more locally successful, they got a lot of tracks in the middle of fucking nowhere that really don't have much else to do.
And that's their thing.
And they have their guys and they'll show up for them and they'll pay $45 because there really ain't nothing else to do. Bowling or skating or go to the dirt track. And there's a lot of those tracks in BFE, West Virginia and Tennessee and Georgia and all these areas. So
sounds like my kind of place. I want to go do that. I want to take a tour through the South and do late model, like a month of late model racing. Just random.
You don't mean that.
I do mean that.
You don't mean that.
You go to some of these facilities down there, man, and it's a shocker.
I was gonna say we're used to Central PA.
I grew up going to Susquehanna Speedway when it was Susquehanna Speedway.
Yeah.
Like that wouldn't be a shocker. You had to be careful which board you stepped on back then, but you could go
some
down
of those
quick,
tracks down there are like Linda's though. Or Penn's Creek, I mean, it's like
you got a creek going through it. That's amazing.
There's some bad facilities. There's some bad facilities down there, and they don't have to be as nice. And they got some extreme fucking tracks. High bank like Tazwell's just insane. Yeah. But they don't have to worry about flipping out of the park because they rarely do, even though they might once every 5 years. A normal late model race or wreck doesn't go over the fence, and some of those tracks down there, you'd love to see a sprint car go around it. But I mean, if he fucks up, see you later. Adios.
See you in the gator pond, right?
Yeah. So
it's funny you bring up the late model thing just because I went to my first Lucas Oil race on yesterday at Port Royal, and
horrible race.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but I go to Port weekly, and I'm getting more and more familiar with the late models because they have the super late models and the limited late models there. But this is my first time.
But nothing gets clout over there but 410s, it seems. Regardless, continue.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And it is a different.
Welcome to Posse Country.
It is a different crowd, and it felt like half of it felt more redneck, but half of it felt more bougie. Like it was kind of weird, and it wasn't even that big of a crowd. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't a huge field either.
There's more females probably. There is a higher female audience in the late model world.
I could attest to that. But it is something that was interesting to me and something that I'm trying to reach out and do more myself because I find it, they just race so well at Port Royal, except for yesterday.
World 100 is like a must. I would say like you go to Eldora for the Dream or the World 100. Those are some shows. And I think Eldora does good because they kind of like this weekend, it's not going to be all that great because it's the Outlaw format. But I think Kings Royal and World 100 and the Dream work because they got their own formats. It's not the same. It's not the cookie cutter, But yeah, late models. I will say there is a class margin there. It is a little more redneck. For instance, they don't have, female drivers most of the time. There's like maybe one or two, there's not much openness there. It's more traditional in that sense. It's a little more redneck. They do get shit-faced drunk more than the sprint car fans, but that could be a battle. Maybe the Beer Hill gang can contest or something one day. They would love to take that challenge, I'm sure. But it's a different class. I would say that sprint car is a little higher class environment than the late model environment, unfortunately.
Which is a wild statement. Some of the
that is a controversial
but overall, generally speaking, Oh, shit.
I am just generally speaking. That's not everybody or
Oh,
everyone.
no.
Yeah.
I'm
same here.
putting
I
that
was-
down on my
I was-
notebook.
And he
every
kind
time.
of said it. I mean, Jimmy kind of said it.
Yeah,
I mean, he
and
said
I was, just kind of just the half the vibe that I got there for my first time, just being there, and I loved it. I thought it was great, and I look forward to maybe going to some more in the future. It's just I'm starting to learn more names and everything now too, but.
Yeah, you got to know the names. Although I will say Ricky Thornton and Bobby Pierce I think are kind of ruining late model racing right now, because if they're there, they're winning it. And it used to be a situation where you had 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that you really had to worry about who's going to win tonight. And now if it's Ricky or Bobby, or, funny enough, Ricky Bobby, but if it's one of them two, if it's one of them two in the building, you could pretty much ride it up. I mean, there was nobody beating Ricky Thornton at Port. There was no contester at all, period. And that's how Bobby's doing the Outlaws right now, pretty much most of the time. So it's kind of ruined it until you get to the big match races, because they're so far ahead in this whole national series split in the sprint car world. They've been having those high limit outlaw battles for years now at these bigger Eldora races and other big late model races where the two series come together. Those are big events. And then you might have Ricky or somebody, but any one of those late model guys can hit a lick. I mean, Davenport's still out there, Overton's still out there, Shepard's still out there. I mean, there's still the guys out there that can hit it. O'Neill, Devin Moran, he's right there. So I mean, you do have, I think, more like in the sprint car world, you got David Gravel and Carson Macedo, really, that most people think is winning almost every night, and then high limit, it's Brad or Rico or maybe Courtney. Yeah. But over there in the late model world, you got a list of guys. So it's a little more competitive, but it does seem like those two guys are stinking that traditional sense of high level competitiveness between 10 or 15 guys for the win. It does seem like it's slowly dwindled down to just those two guys, which I don't think is good for them, but it is what it is.
Right.
So in the late model world, we follow it a little, but we're not nearly connected like sprint cars. In sprint cars, we know PA, you have this group of people. In California, you got this group. In Ohio, you got this group, and they're the kind of the winning guys. They're off a tour, right? They're regional.
Mm-hmm.
In the late model world, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of regions with guys of names that everybody, hey, that's the guy in that region. They're either on tour or they're not really good enough to be on a tour in late models, I feel like. Now, I think
supers
might be wrong on that, because Rick Eckert and Greg Satterley here in PA are pretty
finished top 5
good
yesterday,
contenders. Yeah. They're not, for around here, they're names that I know, but are there other guys around the country in the South or in the Midwest that in late models and supers that run regionally that are names we should know?
Well, in a weird way, the late model scene isn't a national racing scene. Like sprint cars is, it is in California, it is in PA, it is in the Midwest. Now, you could argue and say, well, there's, probably 600 late models in the Southeast and maybe 10 sprint cars, where USCS tries to put a show together every now and then. So, I mean, we got a whole sector, the whole nation that doesn't really see a premier sprint car race ever, unless somebody rents a track out or Charlotte happens, but there are pockets of late model, like a PA with Satterley and Eckert, and Ohio has a few guys with, Carpenter will bust in there and a couple other guys. Illinois is big. That's where the short track stuff is. I don't know the names. I'm not professed in late models. I'm a little more than y'all, but
yeah.
Illinois, I know, has some short track ringers, and then the Southeast and the Georgias and the Tennessees, they got their ringers. So, I mean, I think there's more pockets of threats than in the sprint car world. But what you're saying is kind of true. If you're going to spend the money to race in the super late model division, you're going to have and they don't do the biggest difference between the late model industry and the sprint car industry on a national level is how they travel. The sprint car, princess ass preppy little bastards, they need a hotel, and they got to take a shower, and they got to wash their car every night at the car wash. It's like the late model guys, they have a damn hauler that is their home attached to the trailer where their cars are located.
Yeah. Those things are crazy.
Yeah. So if you're going to because you pretty much got to have that set up to run locally or nationally, I'm sure even Satterley and some of them had that same kind of setup when they're running Port Royal. So if you have that set up to run a super late model division, And really, the tour, like I said, there's no West Coast swing for the World of Outlaws or Lucas Oil. If you can travel from Pennsylvania to Iowa, you can pretty much run a national tour in the late model division, because that's the main traveled areas. They don't really branch out from those too much. I think they go to Nebraska, Eagle. I think Lucas Oil goes to Eagle. They may do a Texas swing, maybe. So yeah, what you're saying also I think makes sense just because of that, because you don't have to travel as much, and the price to make that switch is literally just fuel. Where I feel like there's not a lot of Anthony Maccaries who are rolling in with a full Outlaw rig setup at a local race, or Dietrich's.
You're either kind of like you have it, you're going on tour, or you don't, and you run your locals on a weekend.
Right. It's a money thing because a late model, is 125,000 sitting,
Yeah.
race ready, just the car.
Back to the sprint car world, and this is we had did a hot topic, a hot take of the year prediction, and one of mine was, and I hate doing it, but the posse won't win an Outlaw or a high limit race this year. That was my take at the beginning of the season. I didn't feel the same way about the first 4 weeks of the year. I thought, man, I think we got some speed. Then I see what happened yesterday at BAPS. Do you think a PA posse?
Why are you forgetting Dietrich at I-55?
What do you mean? He left early.
Dietrich.
The
night before, wasn't he right there on?
No, he was very good. I'm not taking it back.
And I'm not a Danny Dietrich fan by all means. Billy's great, but
Billy is the better Dietrich.
We love Billy.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody can admit it because they're not being mean to Danny. But regardless, continue.
Billy knows it though.
You got to give respect when he's good on the track, though. That's all. I
don't give a shit about that. I just know I personally love Billy Dietrich. So,
but I mean, the tides changed pretty quick. He didn't time real good this weekend at both events, at Port or BAPS, right? Just an off weekend. But I really was encouraged the first few weeks of the season. But as we get closer and closer and closer, I don't know. What do you think is from if the 1,000-foot view, Williams Grove, they're showing up here not too long in a week and a half to Lincoln.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks to Lincoln, and then they're going to go to Williams Grove. Macri, Dietrich, Dietz. Can they pull off a win when the Outlaws are in town?
Can you really count DeWeese out at Williams Grove? Can you really do that?
It's been a while.
I love this guy.
It's been a minute since he's been a contender up front weekly.
Well, that's what they said about Darren Pittman when he tried to come back and race. And look what happened there.
Anybody said Darren Pittman wasn't a threat at Williams Grove.
Until I'm talking about. See, I'm saying first race back, he hadn't been in a car in however long. I mean, didn't he go to the 69K at Williams Grove and win first race back in fucking 6 years? I mean,
mostly true.
He's an alien.
Making David Gravel, really honest with his, it's harder to race night in and night out and not take a vacation. I mean, Darren Pittman's a great example of that. He just pops in and wins one, after 6 years or whatever layup.
Darren Pittman's the GOAT. So.
Right. And they say no good drivers are from the South, Broke Joe says it all the time, but Darren Pittman, Chris Bell, I mean, we got some names.
Hey,
but anyway.
Fair here. Darren Pittman's posse.
Jimmy's a big Christopher Bell guy.
You only want the transplants that are good. That's all. That's the problem.
That's how this shit works, buddy.
Okay, yeah. You get a bad transplant, like
you can take Ashton Torgenson back with you.
Yeah. Now he's PA posse, but it's just
nope. I will not accept it. I stay with Kale.
Y'all are too loud, though. Y'all basically shut down the 24 team a few years ago when Kerry came in and didn't run well in it. Remember?
Well, yeah, he's from Australia.
On the way out anyway.
But, come on. Anyway, I don't know. Back to the question. I don't know. Dietz looks good, but yeah, I mean, Ashton just fucked them all up at BAPS, made them look like they're, struggling to. I feel like if you would have brought the whole NARC tour over, they would have been in the B main, for crying out loud. But it's different. It's different. I think Lincoln, for some reason, I always want to think that Lincoln is the better shot for a PA guy to win, but the Outlaws just seem to own Lincoln. It seems like I don't know why that is. So it goes to Williams Grove as opportunity. And for some reason, I mean, the qualifying of these Outlaw guys is just elite. Yes. I mean, it's some of the most elite qualifying there is. And if you can't qualify, you might as well just load the fucking thing up. I mean, And that's the truth. I think y'all are going to have the Outlaw tune-up format coming up, I
Yeah,
guess,
this
or
weekend,
whatever.
barely.
So
I think it's just a way for them to
that'll be
raise ticket
determining.
prices, but like whatever.
I'll tell you what, Lincoln is it's the time trials. It's if our guys can time, they'll run up front. The racing isn't the problem. It's the time trialing at Lincoln year after year and the right draw at the right time. David Gravel can go out three quarters of the way through at the end and still time well. Our guys need to have, for the last few years, it's been the right part of the lineup and the draw to be up there in time. They race fine, but it's hard to go past those cars that timed ahead of you in the feature and then go win those races. So Gravel, Sheldon, Macedo, they've been good. Kof Buddy, he won a race at Lincoln, a weekly race. Like they're fast.
The traveling guys seem to do good at Lincoln.
They do, and I hate it. I hate it.
What was it? Spencer Baston rolled up in there one week in the Speed Lab car and won.
Yeah, pack too. I don't know. Lincoln's, I think, most comparable
you would think
to
that
other tracks.
Short track, you'd have a chance. You would think, but I do understand how Williams Grove is more technical.
Williams Grove's the unique one.
That's the more
Because
technical
it's
track.
so different than everything else that the national guys have to deal with.
Yeah, Lincoln it's unique, but it is a short track. But at the same time, I think it
races big. It's on the wood more too. It's on the wood. I feel like more.
Williams
You got to
Grove
shut the car down and.
Yeah, Williams Grove is just unique. It's just completely different than what those guys do.
Yeah,
there's
you're
a lot
good
of
or
guys
not.
There's some guys that did well over their career at Williams Grove, Donnie and Steve Kinzer. They had great careers at Williams Grove, but it took Brad a long time to break through. Logan hasn't broken through a ton at Williams Grove, right? Like it's difficult. And I think if you're going to have a shot at it, it's at Williams Grove. And really, I'll be honest with you, 69K and Ryan Smith, that car, they got it right now. Now I haven't ran at Williams Grove a lot yet, but I think right now.
I thought with a little more, Dietz could have won that Port Royal race.
Dietz tried.
He should have. He could have won that. He could have won it.
He should have won it. He just.
Somebody's mad that we didn't give the 23 any credit. I said he just looks good. He has an average finish of third. Okay.
No, we were talking about that because he had so many second place finishes this year. So
Dietz probably should have won that race. Jimmy, you and I were there. He had a hell of a run through 1 and 2, and he caught the wall. And if he didn't, he was gonna fucking.
Well, and I thought he made the mistake going into 1. He should have just full slid it. It looked like he backpedaled.
Right. Well, I think Ryan Smith seemingly chopped him, or at least shaded down, so he couldn't do that.
Go ahead.
That's it. No, I just think Ryan Smith played it smart there. He shaded down to not let Chase do that, and Chase sat the break to avoid it.
Carson Macedo, buddy. I mean,
Chase is not Carson Macedo. So
I'm just saying. And it wasn't. What was Keith Kaufman Classic that paid decent, right?
It was a good. It's a big race, but Chase didn't get fired. He didn't get fired for crashing a race car.
I get it, but I mean, if your average finish is third, send her in there. Apparently.
I ran good at BAPS on test, and they got fired.
This was something I was going to bring up on tonight's shows, just because. Looking at this past weekend, you have a guy like Torgerson, second race in, go out and win. Casey Kane, who, no disrespect to Casey Kane, when they're here on a national tour, he's barely in the feature usually. No disrespect. He's fast.
Right, I was about to say that. It's a big swing in competition for some reason.
But he sits on the pole here at Port Royal. And Torgerson, I'm a little concerned going into the national tours coming in here in the next couple of weeks. But you got the Outlaws and you got Weikert a couple weeks after that, where we talked earlier this year where we're kind of like, all right, posse, we're going to be right back there. But I mean, now you kind of have some guys come in and that happens, and not best conditions or anything like that, but I just hope it's not foreshadowing for what when the Outlaws and High Limit come in here, that the posse guys are going to show up.
Well, I mean, even if it was just a 1A and Jacob Allen's still in the seat, that doesn't look good,
Right?
No, Jacob Allen's not.
Agreed.
I'm just saying,
it's not good. You look at the posse guys preseason. We talked about Freddie Raymer, Danny Dietrich. Where are they? again, you have a big
Danny's
show.
had-
I
No,
thought
Danny-
Zerfoss would have did something after his
Brock
years on the Outlaws.
Zerfoss.
You know,
Like he was supposed to be the kind of savior. Anthony Macri, what the hell is he did at Port? Like you have Chase Dietz finishing second every week, driving his dick off. Well, we don't even have Carson Macedo, David Gravel, Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson here yet.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think, Danny's had a great start to the season. He's timed well. He's passed cars. He's won races. Anthony is really good at Williams Grove right now. And he's won a couple races at Lincoln. At Port, he just hasn't found it quite yet. He did win one, I think, didn't he?
I heard he's not timing well.
He didn't time
That's
well.
a big issue.
Saturday night, Torgerson out-timed Macri and Logan Wagner. Two, and they didn't go. They went out
good
times and time trials too. It was pretty shocking.
But Macri also went quick time at Williams Grove and Lincoln 2 weeks ago.
Right.
In back-to-back nights. So they're having a very on-off. They're either like, man, we're on it. It's outlaw speed, or we're like ninth. It's just this weird, like they're and Anthony talked about. They're close to finding it. They're close. It's getting there. But man, I hope they get it right pretty soon. Right, it's that time. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think that there's definitely a fighting chance. There's some good race cars.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Stutz won last year for crying out loud.
And I'll go back to Lincoln. You have guys like Matt Campbell, who's straight up on fire right now at Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kind of guys, if things go well for that Gaysburg Clash, they're problems.
I hope
Tyler
so.
Ross, Aaron Bollinger. Those are the Troy Wagaman. Let's not forget about. He is the track champion a year ago. Timed well at BAPS, timed well at Port, a place he's admittedly not good at.
I just feel like every year we think that they're going to have some shot at Lincoln, and it's like Sheldon's out.
No,
everybody. I mean, it's like they push them outside of the top 10 for crying out loud.
Got to start up front.
I just haven't seen the Outlaws do much at Lincoln, or PA guys do much at Lincoln against the Outlaws. I mean, what was the last one to really contend? Brent Marks, I think, did once.
Brent Marks won.
Didn't Macri beat Marks at?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, when Brent had the tire going down and Anthony ran him down with like 2 to go. That was
an Outlaw show.
That was an Outlaw show. And then Brent had one taken from him one time. He was leading. Danny's won them before. Freddie's won one. But it's not been consistent that we're dominating like we should be in the top 10 there at our home, on the home turf. It really isn't.
Right.
It comes down to time trials. They race fine. They pass some cars, but you got to start in the top 5. If you're going to be in an Outlaw show at Williams Grove or at Lincoln Speedway, you need to start in the top 5. That's going to be hard to pass. You got to start up there. So you got to put it all together. Who are you going to out-time? You got to go out-time these guys.
Yeah, and I think that's the deal at Lincoln is Williams Grove has its technicality because of turn 3 and how flat the corners are and the long straightaways. So you can kind of learn if you got some skill at those particular tracks, you can make up a little time here or there, maybe, especially based on track conditions, which is everything in qualifying. What's the track conditions like? If it's too muddy, then you want to, be in the middle of the go out grid. If it's starting to go away, if you're not in the top 10, you might as well just throw your night away. If you're not going out 10th or earlier. But I think at Lincoln, the issue is that it is kind of drive the car in there, bend it and go, and I think Outlaw guys are really good at just getting the most out of a race car. I almost feel like at Lincoln, you got to have more of a car to compete with the Outlaws than you will at Williams Grove. You maybe have to have more motor, but as far as being able to stay on the wood and really get the car through the corner, I think that the car is more dependent at Lincoln than it is Williams Grove.
I'm a Lincoln guy. I love it. I love going there. It's a short track style, 3/8 mile, fairly longish straightaways for a short track, and 2 very different corners. It's challenging, and yeah, you got to have it right. It always surprises me how good the Outlaw guys are racing there because it is a unique for a short track. It's very different. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are very different corners. Entry, exit. You kind of, you come up out of the hill off of 4, and I don't know. I don't know what the thing is, but those Outlaw guys have been good there for sure. So we'll see. I don't know. What do you guys got?
Am I letting you down with my reaction? I mean, I could start drinking beer and we can really get into it.
No.
We were hoping we
So-
weren't going to let you down and us be on unhinged
Oh, God.
enough. You know, we'd be boring.
So, my sole question, Chaz. So there's trophies behind you. What are they?
They're
and
not
where'd they come-
mine. They're not mine.
Well-
I'm at some guy's house in Illinois.
Well, where'd he win them at, though?
Would it?
I think those are motorcycle rewards. He does custom paint jobs on motorcycles, and those were like winnings for best looking cars or
Fair enough.
bikes.
You
And
drag
then that,
He does have this badass Buddy Kofoid. Look at this thing. It's
just
like
pro-
a
that was
they,
that was
they-
question 2.
yeah, it's like a Buddy Kofoid
That's
Yeah.
kind of sick.
license plates all put together. That I thought that was
And
pretty
then
cool.
I see
my
a
last
gray one
question
there.
is that sprint car that's welded and looks all cattywampus. That
Yeah, I
thing.
did see that the other day. I guess they do some custom
Kind
fab
of sick.
stuff.
Look at that shit.
That's kind of cool.
Love that.
That's not bad. Apparently,
Yeah, not at
Illinois
all.
used to be a big sprint car midget area, but
That's kinda
it's,
cool.
it's really not anymore, I guess.
That's all I had.
All
I
right.
thought you were going to say something about Path Valley. Now that y'all finally
Ah.
got a race going.
Yeah, how about
there.
Path Valley?
We
Wait,
love
what's
that.
going on
Valley.
at Penn
Best
Valley?
track in PA, man. It's
I heard,
the best track in
I
PA.
heard they got a high limit race or something like that.
They do, yeah.
We're just talking
Yeah,
about that
I can-
yesterday. Speed Week and High
Can
Limit.
confirm Rangers Grove is the best track in PA. I don't care what you say. But Path Valley, I need to go there to see Brett Perigo race.
Oh, God.
Okay, listen,
That's all I
Yeah,
got.
that ruined it.
I'm hyped
know,
for
that's
Path
what I do.
Valley. They added banking. Somebody, I was talking to somebody. They were just there, and they added banking, like big time banking. In
Added?
corners. Yeah.
It's already
Added.
banked as
It
hell.
already
They
was, but it
added.
kind of shelved off and made it kind of narrow. Like it was
Yeah,
up there. and
the
it
top
shelved
you
off.
couldn't really, the top you couldn't really rip on as much.
Yeah.
So, I hear what you're saying.
So we'll see. I mean, we have the last Sunday of Speed Week. That show, the Speed Week show, that'll really kind of give you a preview of what you can see in September for the High Limit show. I'm excited for that. So can't wait to get out there. I like going to that place for other, 305s or wingless cars. Go out there and run sometime.
Big time late model track. World of Outlaws have been there the last 2 years,
Yeah.
I believe.
Late,
Yep.
Portal Outlaw, late models have gone there.
And the midgets were there last year too, right? Didn't the midgets come through and run there?
I've heard the big issue is streaming from that track. You can't get no signal, but I guess Elon
signal's
fixed
atrocious.
that, and that's why they're doing it now because they
Which would
can
be-
get
which,
the
yeah.
Starlink.
Yeah, thank you, Elon. Like, yeah, you can't get cell service when you walk in that place. It is
No.
literally in the middle of a mountain, like the valley. It's wild. One of the better sceneries. Port Royal and Path Valley challenge for the best scenery that I've been to recently.
You got to go if they reopen it. You got to go to Calistoga before you say that. I mean,
Yeah.
Calistoga's pretty
Calistoga's
fucking stout, man, for views. But I mean, Port Royal's beautiful. Path Valley is too. It's really muggy in Path Valley. I feel like though it's all humid.
It's everything
I think-
there.
Yeah, the Amish. Yeah,
It's everything.
Um,
there. It has it all. You experience every part of life and Earth at
Yeah.
Path Valley.
even vinegar on the French fries. Yeah.
All of it.
You don't like
are you
vinegar on French fries?
When I tell people that, they're like, "What? They do that up there for real?"
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
We
"Yeah,
got the
dude. You go,
spray
you get
bottle.
the fucking, you get over there to put some ketchup, and there's
Hell
like this
yeah.
piss in a bottle. You're like, what is this?
Salt
And you
vinegar,
smell
man.
it, and it's like, oh my god, it is piss. And then you realize it's just Yingling, and that's the same thing.
Same thing. Vinegar Yingling.
How the fuck did Yingling become the national beer that everybody wants to try? I am
Dude.
still trying to figure this out. I went there in 2019 and 2020, and somebody let me try it. Oh, it's a local beer, and I tried. I'm like pissing it out. I'm blowing it out my face. It's disgusting. And then now I come back from Australia, and everybody wants it.
Yeah.
What happened?
It has spread to the Midwest, and it's everything. Everybody wants it. It's the wildest shit ever. Talked to a dealer I work with in Seguin, Texas, and Seguin, they're like, "We got Yingling, bro," and I'm like, "Okay." I forgot that it's not out there.
Right.
Last time I was in Kansas City, Yingling. That was everybody had a Yingling at the bar. They have their own breweries. It's Kansas City. And
Right.
I'm like, I'm out there drinking Kansas City beer, and they're drinking Yingling, and I'm like, "What the hell's going
And they
on?"
think it's good. That's the fucked up part. It's shit. I mean, the Yingling flight is doable, but the regular Yinglings like Budweiser,
You
or
gotta have full
fucking-
menthol, man. You gotta put you can't do the light. You gotta have the real thing.
Oh, I'm fucking done with this.
Well, I'm not even a Yingling fan. I don't really see, honestly, that many people drinking.
Oh, and it's
Yingling.
just like when I was in Australia, everybody wanted to have fucking canes.
Really?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Canes is
It's
trash.
They love it.
But yeah, because some TikTok girls made it cool or something. I guess.
Are you? So what's your plans? You're in Illinois. What are you doing there? And what's on tap for you next?
I mean, I have tapped out fundings right now. We all just had to pay taxes, obviously. But I want to. Knoxville obviously did their whole sweet deal with the reveal with the all ball and all that, and me being not stirring the pot or anything like you're gonna accuse me of, but I messaged Tony and I'm like, hey, what about these Eldora suites? Why ain't nobody talked about them? So I'm supposed to go to Eldora Saturday. And we're supposed to do like a Eldora Suite tour since Knoxville wants to do a tour about theirs,
Oh, yeah, their whole new expansion and everything.
Yeah, well, nobody knows, but there's the ballroom. I guess they're now turning into something. There's all these things that's happening at Eldora, and I guess they're not really talking about it, but Eldora kind of sells itself. But
I'm trying to get these two guys to come out with me
this
on
weekend.
Saturday to go to Eldora, but it's not really working out. I'm not going out by myself, though.
Well, I mean, I'll be there, but I don't know what I'm doing after that. I really do. There's something in me that really wants to go to Osh Weekend, to go to Canada. I don't know.
It's right after Williams Grove, I think.
Yeah, it's the weekend after. But I don't know. I mean, that's a hell of a trip up there. I don't know who won the elections. We may be at war by then with Canada. I don't know. I don't fucking know. So,
border might be shut down.
Yeah. And I'm kind of scared to go to PA, just because it's like, the same drunks, the same people.
Yeah,
yelling.
you're going to get your ass beat or something.
No, that has not happened yet. That has not happened yet. I do say yet for a reason, but I don't know. PA is just weird sometimes. It's just weird. You got to go through I-70 and pay $30, and it's just like, what am I doing?
That's the weird part.
It's really it's the women. That's what it is. It's the women. They're just the hair is on the legs, guys. What is going on?
Chris just he stepped away for a second, but Chris has some. He can talk to you about
what is he gonna say here?
Every week it's a different story about a different woman with this guy. So
yeah,
he's I'm not going there.
He talks in circles. He speaks in tongues. I'm like, Chris, what are you talking about? That's not an adjective you use.
So he's like people. A Pentecostal?
We don't know what he is. He's a degenerate. That's what he is.
Mennonite.
He might be. No, we have that. That's our buddy Austin Griffey. He's a Mennonite.
Marie says here, you should do USAC Midget Week.
I can't support kindergarten.
What about USAC? What about Sprint Week?
Maybe. I don't know, man. Non-wing shit has just like lost. I don't know if anyone paid attention to Kokomo and watched the race. It was like no one was in the stands. It was like nobody.
That's bad if that's Kokomo.
Yeah. Kokomo. Now, Saturday night, they didn't have anyone in the stands. You could have maybe gave an excuse because Hobstock with the Outlaws was running. But Sunday, there was nothing. It was USAC midgets. Sprint cars were there. All the names were there. Nobody's in the fucking crowd.
Was the weather shitty?
I don't think so much. I mean, there was some old people that were tailgating and everybody, interviewed them on Flow. But, I mean, it wasn't that. It couldn't have been that bad. That guy was in a short sleeve. So,
yeah.
And the thing is, USAC used to be such a cool thing. And now, like, their own drivers don't even want to be in it. And the midget tour turned into this kindergarten class with, a few veterans like the PE teachers teaching the kids how to drive. And it's like we get to Chili Bow and real drivers show up in the cars and all the national midget kids just disappear. You don't see them because they're not really. This is why I can't give Jade Avedisian too much credit. Yeah, she may have did great, but it was midgets. I just midgets to me don't display how good you are anymore. I just don't think they do. And it's unfortunate because it's a badass race car. Like you got to drive the shit out of those cars. They're not easy to drive. But the competition level is just so low in them, in my opinion, most of the time.
It kind of got that way. It seems like the guys use it as they do it, they get out of it, they move on, and it I don't know. I feel like
and it's supposed to be midgets. Then you move on to the sprint car. Then you move on to the Silver Crown. Silver Crown used to be the shit. You know, I mean, that used to be bigger than the World. That was around before the World Outlaws. You know, I mean, so I don't know what the fuck USAC's doing, but they ain't doing it. You know, because their brand, their racing is not it right now. It hasn't been. It's only went downhill for like 4 years straight now.
I feel like that stuff ebbs and flows a little bit, but when the sanctioning body has a part in it ebbing and flowing, that's a problem. And I think you're right. I think USAC's gotten a kind of a bad look the last few years, and a lot of decisions and a lot of things they've done, and rules and or lack thereof, or
promotion. Who's doing that? What are they doing?
Accountability. Yeah. Hell, I thought the Kokomo race was a national tour race, and I wondered why Briggs Danner was running in East Coast at Port, and I'm like, why is he here? USAC's at Kokomo.
Yeah, it wasn't
on the thing on Flow. It said USAC Racing Kokomo Clash whatever. It didn't say midgets on it. I didn't even know it was freaking midgets, because I've been racing. I'm running around doing what I'm doing here, and I thought it was a full size cars. Like, I didn't even know that it was a thing. And I know they're off, but I'm like, what is this? I had no idea. I just saw USAC and assumed it was the big cars. Didn't even show that it was midgets on there. So I don't know. Not that that's really a point, but I was like, you're right. Promotion. What's going on? Is it because they're off for a month?
Oh, and then they're not paying well, and they don't pay for shit. The risk is twice as much. They got a decent. The weird thing is they got a decent local racing scene, but then the decent local racing scene kind of inhibits the national, because if you look at the actual schedules, the sprint cars especially, it's basically Indiana. It's really they don't want to go anywhere. So what happens is it looks like the local racing scene pays so low, and when you try to have a USAC national race and pay $5,000 or $10,000, that you won't get an immense amount of cars, because there'll be another track running locally, and some of the guys, they don't have the money. There's not a lot of money in the cars. There's only about 6 or 7, let's be honest, USAC sprint cars with real money put into the car. And if you got that real money put into the car, you have a huge advantage over everybody else.
Yeah.
So your typical 10th through 20th guy is going to go run Putnamville or run another track, or just another track that's competing, or Paragon or whatever. And not necessarily cherry pick, but just go have a more successful night. It's sad. It is unfortunate for that form of motorsport, because it is badass. It's possibly the most difficult race car to drive is a USAC non-wing sprint car potentially. But it just don't have the drivers. It don't have the payout. It don't have the clout. And it's only gotten worse year after year. So I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to them.
Yeah, it's not a good situation when you got guys trying to do their best to get out of it. They're trying to get away.
I'd put wings on the crown cars. That's what I'd do. Fuck it.
Oh,
bring back the super modifieds.
Listen,
that's what the super modifieds is. Just start a new class. Call it super modifieds. Put a wing on them.
Don't you dare ever say that again on here. You said
100-lap race.
First
hey man, Kyle wants a starter on the car. They already got one. We need more room in the cockpit. They're already safer.
I have been leaning more towards the starter on the cars conversation a little bit.
Jay-Z's mad at me. He's still got the look. What do you want to say? I cut him off.
First of all, you said put wings on a sprint car, and then on a true Silver Crown car, and then you used the word modified in the sentence later. You're 0 for 2.
Right. Because it's a modified Silver Crown car, so it's a super modified.
Transfender car. What is it?
Well, you could call hey, super modified is a class that doesn't exist anymore. That was the original class for the Knoxville Nationals.
Those things were fucking gnarly. Super modified.
But they were 100-inch cars with wings on them. So that's why I'm joking and saying, put a wing on a Silver Crown car and just call it a super modified or something. But if the Silver Crown cars did a wing race, I mean, who wouldn't watch that shit? I mean,
that's true. I mean, that's
would Logan Seavey dominate that even more?
I think how you do it, I've actually talked to this with a few of the Crown cars. It might do it, but no front wing. Just the top. Go the nostalgia look with them, because they're nostalgia class. Do it on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Pay big money, and now David Gravel and the actual wing sprint car guys can come and run some cars. And then you can have a real fucking show that everyone's going to want to see if you got wing Silver Crown cars. And now the wing sprint car guys are going to do it because it pays a lot and they got wing experience. The non-wing guys like your CVs and the names are going to do it because they're used to the Crown car. That sounds like an entertaining selling business proposal. If you do it correctly and you schedule it right, you get Larson in there, Bell. I mean, why not? It would be the one race if you're a wing sprint car driver you definitely want to run. You'd have a chance.
No front wing.
No front wing.
Sounds like
Fuck
a
'em
Super
all.
Crown sportsman, super sportsman.
If you go look up the champ cars of the super modifieds, that's what they were. They top wings and no front wings. The old
Race
school
them on a
super
1 mile long
modified.
track.
I'd say do it at a more so regular facility, a regular racetrack. You could even go short track in.
I got to go out to Springfield a couple years ago with the Paragos, and that was one for Silver Crown race, and that was one of the coolest things. Still, I mean, it's just I wish more people could experience that and see just how cool.
The only problem with that mile race, I went to the Springfield one last year, my first time to see a car enter. Now, practice was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
because
crazy.
They're sending those fucking cars in there. The track's still good, but I've heard or been told that there's like an ownership group that owns all those mile tracks, and they dictate and basically mandate that track by the time we're going racing is just a one-liner rubbered up piece of shit track, and it's for safety purposes, which, okay, fine. But I went to Hutchinson, my first Silver Crown race prior, and it was a half mile over there. It's a big half mile. And they did that style of working on the Friday night, and everybody was bitching and complaining in the track. It wasn't this group. It was an offset track. So they did the track their own way. They gripped that son of a bitch up, and the fucking Crown cars were ripping that son of a bitch. They were tossing the damn car at the flag stand, man. And it was extremely entertaining. But I guess these other groups that promote the majority of the Silver Crown schedule are worried about safety so much. They don't want Chris Windham flipping his life away potentially like we saw at Indy a couple years ago. So they take these races and these tracks and make them one-line NASCAR races. And that's just boring to me. So that's another issue.
Port Royal's fun if those cars one lane on the wall. It's entertaining.
Well, yeah. Well, see, you get your Port Royals or your Outliers, but the mile tracks are supposed to be this crazy shit. You know, this really get after it, and they slow it down and nerf it. They nerf those races big time.
I agree. I still thought it was cool. They're still ripping. I mean, they're still some of the fastest cars you'll see on dirt. You know what I mean? When
practice is where it's at, though. You have to agree.
Yeah. Practice is nuts.
Practice is nuts because
early like Terre Haute, you know, when the track's heavy, early Terre Haute, when those Crown cars just
rip it,
toss them in there, just unbelievable.
Now imagine if they had a top wing. You'd still have to sling the fuck out of that car with a top wing. It's too heavy. It's too long. You know. So
that'd be wild. A little extra downforce.
Just a little, not a lot. You know, just the top.
Just a little wing.
Like I don't want the little wing. I don't want it to look completely dumm, but
we don't need them looking like sportsmen out there.
Yeah, we don't want the super sportsmen. Well, although that would kind of make the name for the super modified, right? If that's a super sportsman, then the super modified is the upgraded version with the top wing.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Super Crown modified sportsman. Super.
All right, I'm gonna leave now.
Super silver. All right, Jimmy, what else we got? Let's get going here. We'll get him out of here. What else we got left?
I have one other question for you. I think Brandon Zerka was asking before. Do you race on iRacing?
Occasionally. I have a steering wheel and pedal set up, but I don't travel with it. And I have a Oculus because that's the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got VR too.
Yeah, Oculus is the way to go. And you can have that for relatively cheap. I know people try to spend $5,000 before they. It's like, dude, just go buy a fucking used Thrustmaster or whatever on Facebook Marketplace and get $100 Oculus Quest 2, and that's like almost better than anything you can buy for that amount of money until you get into like the movement hydraulic systems. But I have. I mean, that's how me and Kyle and Kevin Swindell and Chris Bell and everybody knew each other. That's why Kyle's telling David Gravel on his show that Chaz is a good race car driver, because me and him and Bell and everybody used to click up back in like 2008 and used to run on R Factor all the time. Technically, I'm actually a founding member of iRacing. If you go look up my profile, Chaz Thompson, I have a founding member award because when it came out, I got the game when it first opened up.
Nice.
But you know, nobody ever thought dirt would come to iRacing. When they did announce it, it was on April 1st, so everybody thought it was April Fool's. But I mean, I'll race it every now and then. The last time I raced it, I just popped on and won like one of the 360 national races. So I mean, I could still get around on there, but it's just not something I do all the time because I'm trying to go to races. I'm traveling.
You're busy with life, so.
Yeah. Trying to live life. That's the one thing that iRacing will do is it will take your life away. That goes with any video game. Your life will go away and you will not know where it went. You could spend hours and hours and hours and hours on that damn thing.
That's how the three of us know each other. That's how we met.
We have a iRacing PA Posse League that we run Tuesday, Thursdays. And that's how we all met. So if you are on, you know, you're more than welcome to come join the posse. It's strictly.
Look at his little setup there. Did you buy that from Shawn Michael?
No, I did not. I don't even know who that is. Oh, that's
Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid.
Oh, I thought that was crew chief of the year.
I don't know. He does. He has some good Silver Crown cars. He's the 20 car. You know who Shawn Michaels.
I know who it is. Yes.
Unfortunately, we don't have to recognize him as a person. It's fine.
No, I know who it is. No, I you know, over the years just upgraded. I bought my setup basically when dirt was announced back then and didn't have it at the time. I was a console player for a couple games here and there, but when dirt got announced, I started just there's a little setup on the floor, cheap, and then over the years just kind of, you know, upgraded the equipment, and it's fun. We have a good time with it. We do a little bit of dirt and a little bit of NASCAR stuff. We got into the three of us. Actually, we have a big group that does NASCAR league now. But yeah, it's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah, Troy Wagaman's a big NASCAR.
Oh, yeah. Troy Wagaman's IRA. He's a cup race winner in our cup league. He won a race this year.
And Troy Wagaman was good. Another guy that knows me from back in the Larson racing days who was really good was Cody Hartlub. Yeah. Cody Hartlub was really good in R Factor. Hugely
very good. They raced that before I had a PC in R Factor and came over to iRacing. And that's how I met Cody. Was on iRacing, actually. I met Cody there. Wagaman I met at Speedway 94 doing go-kart racing, but we all, you know, they all kind of like you did, kind of migrated to iRacing, and I got to meet all those guys. And these guys here, even though we were all race fans and probably went to the races, we didn't know each other for the most part in that web, and it kind of all came together as to what, you know, kind of what we are today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can kind of you can develop friends and buddyship groups on there too with people across the country and stuff like that. So it's an interactive thing. But it will take your life. You will be sitting there in front of that thing for a long time. But sim racing's fun, especially, you know, I think most people do it because they can't afford to do the real thing at the end of the day. I think that you could find some talent potentially in sim racing because I do think that and you could tell how good somebody is. Like Chase Briscoe, he always joked and called me the Steve Kinzer of online racing because I was really good back there in that R Factor time period. But you know, Chase Briscoe, you race him in R Factor, and he's easily beatable. If I was racing Larson or Bell, they're a challenge. You know, you can kind of gauge how good a guy is on how good he does do. If he runs games, if he does run them consistently, and he gets comfortable in his racing, you can kind of tell who's good and who ain't. Like, I would beat Dylan Hart Jr. all the time on NR2K3, but when it came to Martin Truex and Denny Hamlin, those fuckers, you know, they were tough. And that translated into the real world. You know, those two guys, I would say, are better than Dale Jr. And it shows. I think the biggest difference between the game and the real car, though, is fear. That's 100% the main difference is fear. You know, it's not that hard to run down the back straightaway at Williams Grove and just drop her into 3 on the game. Whereas if you're doing that in real life, there's a whole nother ball of wax occurring.
Run out of nerve real quick down that straightaway.
And vision is the biggest difference. You know, you got a clear screen on iRacing and all that. Because I've been in real cars, and you get in those fucking cars, and you put the helmet down. You got 20 tear-offs on there, and the damn lights are glaring from one side of the track, and it's, you know, it's splicing in front of your eyes. I mean, the vision is also a huge deal. So. There's some definitely huge differences between the game and the real car, but I do think you could judge how good somebody is if they race iRacing or sim racing and they run the real car, you can kind of get a gauge on how good they are just because everybody's on the same equipment. That's the main thing, you know.
And I'll tell you a couple like Wagaman. I remember the World of Outlaws game, the one that you could the first time it came out when you could race it on Xbox against other people. That version. I remember I didn't know it was Troy Wagaman at the time, but he at Lernerville, he was an animal, and I'm like, this guy's cheating. Like, how is he so good at this?
Yeah.
And then I raced him in go karts, and then I raced him on iRacing. He doesn't race for a year, comes out and beats us, and I'm like, what? He's an alien. Like he's just talented. Yeah. He's just good at it, and he's just a different level of racer for sure. So anyway, all my guys left me, man. I guess
I'm sorry. Oh, Jimmy's back. My bad. He had to pee.
What else, Jimmy? Keep us moving.
All right, one more question from the chat here. Tyler
okay, hold on. Let me get a beer for this question. Let me get a beer. Is that okay? Let me get a beer for this. Hold on. Hold on.
I'm out of beers. I finished all my beers. Well, I have more, but I'm gonna have to use the bathroom. I can't.
Go ahead. I'm gonna put this up while you guys are doing that.
All right.
They did release a picture of the 69K, and this is breaking my brain here because I've only known the 69K with that baby blue.
Oh, that's a pretty car.
It is a pretty car, but it's breaking my brain here to seeing the 69K on there.
Wait, is this a new release?
Yeah, this is Christopher Bell's car in Texas this week.
Oh wow!
So he got the Interstate Batteries sponsorship, and they changed.
And everybody's
wrap done.
I've at least speculated for the longest that there's some under the table money going to this 69K to go to all these high limit races. There has to be in some capacity.
The last time they had Christopher Bell out there, they had the big blank spot on the wing. I'm like, why wouldn't you? I mean, I know they have Kreitz's oval parts and stuff, but like, why wouldn't you want to put your business on there? You're on national TV, like that. But this makes a little bit more sense on why it's that way.
All right, and I guarantee you they paid a very pretty penny to do that. Very pretty penny.
And
so
he's going to be strong in that car. He's looked really strong in that car. So yeah, it's interesting. I still don't know how I feel about it though. I'm a big 69K fan. But
it's definitely going to rattle up. What's the comment section?
I don't know.
That's the more entertaining thing to see right now.
Picture. They just released this as we've been on, like maybe like an hour ago or so.
The comment section for that one is where the entertainment is located.
Let's see what everybody else in here is saying. Gives me Mountain Dew vibes. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, and the funny thing is, it's one of those rare green cars. Green cars are so superstitially bad.
It's true.
Kinzer kind of killed it with the Quaker State car,
and that's what Daniel Lee just said. What a wrap! I haven't seen that much green since Kinzer's Quaker State 11.
Well, and people need to remember that Bell is just as good as Larson. They need to remember this. You got to understand that Christopher Bell won an outlaw race on a flatbed trailer at Jacksonville, racing a fucking car they just took out of the garage at Keith Coons, and won an outlaw race. Yeah. This is a guy who, made a joke about it. He made Kyle Larson cry at the Chili Bowl. When he did. I mean, we physically saw Kyle crying after he passed him on the last lap.
Yeah.
This is how good this guy is. Now, he didn't say the N-word and get to go race all these different cars. That's the difference here.
He's not in an Indy car right now.
He didn't say the N-word and get to go race dirt for a year and then open opportunities and run all this shit. So, I mean, that's the difference. And Bell can do everything Larson does, sometimes better. And once again, I'm a firm believer in thinking that Chris Bell and Kyle Larson is the Steve Kinzer, Sammy Swindell of our generation. They're just not running. Yeah, we're losing right now. But regardless,
I hear you. I'm not a huge Christopher Bell fan, but I recognize his talent. I do think he's extremely talented. Very great race car driver, one of the top, and I agree. He's right there with Larson. Like
he jumps back in the wing car against the Outlaws.
Together, it's pure cinema. It's great.
Well, I mean, Bell came back. Wasn't that his first race back in a wing 410 at Volusia where he won the fucking Outlaw race? I mean,
you put Bell in the 69K, and we saw what Pittman did after being away for a while and coming right in and winning. And you put Bell in there. I mean,
I think it's really like riding a bike. I really don't think time is a big big essence. You know,
Right,
talent
but you
isn't taught.
you put him in a good car.
Oh
like
yeah, the
that.
cars, and I think that's possibly what we're seeing with the 69K and the 1A car is how important the cars are.
Yes.
I mean, we think that you can just buy it all, but it does seem like there are some little tricks, little trade secrets, maybe that these guys have. That if you got one of these tricks, you can jump in the car and win a race. You know, I mean, Newman Racing Engines. Who else has got those?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, is it the 69K a home built motor?
I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody in here is going to know it.
Matt Trace is mad I'm drinking Miller instead of Yingling. Who the fuck do you think you are? Fucking Matt Trace. He's a good guy, man. You know what's funny? I randomly ran that sumbitch at I-70 last year.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he left it. I thought he slept on the Beer Hill gang.
I was going to say, I thought he was.
I'm sitting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I thought he just was planted up at Beer Hill.
Yeah, well, this Matt Trace is this like Bigfoot looking fucker, right? This is the same guy, right?
No,
that's somebody else.
That's Matt. That's Miller.
Well, funny enough, look what I'm drinking, Matt
But
Trace.
same thing, Beer Hill gang. But yeah, he traveled with. He worked with Baylog for a lot of years. That guy.
Okay.
The big guy, Big Matt. I think it's Miller. He'll tell me.
Saying they're riders now, and then Samuel saying, aren't they Darn Otts? So.
See, it's a question mark.
Baby Brown had a lot of say in the motors that are built.
But they're riders.
I don't leave PA. Well, there you go.
Okay, Matt Trace. You ain't got to trace Matt Trace. He don't go anywhere. You know.
I thought he paid rent at the Beer Hill gang. I thought he was a resident, like a permanent resident.
There we go. We'll resident it up. We'll smoke a cigarette for the Beer Hill gang. Cigarettes and beer. This is Pennsylvania sprint car racing right here. Fuck that guy.
Tyler Koenig did have a question though. Is there any bucket list races that Chaz wants to scratch off this year? Or
like I said, I think that's the Canada trip. The Oshweekend deal would be one. Last year I got to go to one that I really wanted to that I'd been skipping, and that was the Boone Super Nationals. The big IMCA Super Nationals they do every year in Iowa. And believe it or not, dude, that was possible. Like their video production was the best I've ever seen out of everything. Really? And their main events, it was like they had like 6 classes, or whatever. That's IMCA super deal. But the 4 main classes was the IMCA modified, the IMCA stock car, the IMCA sport mod, and another class I can't think of. But all 4 of those fucking races felt like chili bowls. Really? Every single one of them. They start them 3 wide too. But the presentation, the pageantry they line the cars up, they do a personal firework and driver introduction. I mean, it's a fucking thing.
Yeah,
it was actually very, very entertaining. I would like to scratch that one off the Oshweekend. Path Valley High Limit, man. Path Valley 410 sprint cars. I went there for 305s and supers, but I ain't seen a fucking 410 rip that place yet. And since the first time I went there, I was like, it's like a baby I-55. I mean, I just don't know why it doesn't. I mean, it's a little farther than all the other tracks and people don't want to travel. I get that. But the Path Valley High Limit race is going to be very entertaining. Outside of that, I went to a decent amount of them, So, I don't know, maybe a late model race, maybe the Florence North-South. But that's the same weekend as Knoxville. So, I mean, it's hard to turn down Knoxville every year. So it's just hard. Chaz, have you went to Bowman Gray? Yeah, I went to Bowman Gray for the NASCAR race this year, actually.
Oh, no shit. What'd you think? Yeah, not necessarily the race, but what the track is. It just looks super tiny and flat. I mean, was it pretty cool? Just the whole deal, or
it was extremely fucking cold. So I was originally just going to Florida, and then something or one of the commenters, I was doing some lives and they're like, hey, just go to Bowman Gray. It's this weekend. So I was like, all right. And I looked it up and there were some cheap tickets on the SeatGeek or whatever. So I got them. Then a guy, Bad Brad with Velocita has a lake house there. So I was like, fuck it. I got a house to stay in, play tickets to go to the race.
Let's go.
It was extremely fucking cold. It was like 40 degrees. Well, that's for me. I'm lightweight, I guess. But it was actually, how they have it set up, like that old school Coliseum stadium setup. and like the seating is like you're right on the fucking track, and it's
Really?
right there in front of you. And um, the heat races were kind of cool, but it really, the unfortunate sad thing was, for it to be a good race, somebody had to bump or wreck or something. There was like no kind of purity to the race craft of
They
the
didn't have tire
scenario.
fall off or anything.
You know, I mean, kind of, but even the cup race, I mean, the presentation was awesome. It was great to be there at Bowman Gray. I'd never gone. It was the biggest race they ever had. But the racing, and maybe that's the difference between asphalt fans and dirt fans. I think that asphalt fans in general have never really experienced a race. Like if you've never been to a dirt race, like their form of a race is like a guy getting a run and bumping them, moving them up the track and passing them. Like that's like the way you race on asphalt facility. That's racing. Whereas a fucking race in a sprint car or a late model race is a dude fucking shooting in there and sliding them and fucking getting them, and then the other guy catches and they're back and forth and they're fucking racing. You know, it ain't dependent on some shenanigan shit to put on the show. So
it was an event and an exhibition, and the racing was the side note. It wasn't really racing.
It was more for the pageantry, the experience. It didn't cost too much to do it. But it was cool. If you've never been to Bowman Gray, it's worth it. I mean, just to experience it, almost like going to a favorite museum or something. You know, it's more so like that. Go to it with that aspect as to why you're doing it, more so than to see a great race. Because I just don't think that's possible really on a lot of short track asphalt scenes.
Have you done Millbridge?
Yes.
I've been down there a couple times. I like that place. That was fun. That's a good, like, from the outside or the inside. I took my camera down the both times I went. I want to say both times I went, took the camera down, and that was a pretty cool experience. I mean, it's a micro track, but it just felt different. I was like, this is kind of like, for them, Millbridge is a pretty big deal, and some of the kids that are there, and second generations, and that was a fun experience.
I've been there for a midget show. The one year they had the midget show at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Or it would have been, no, I think it was an Extreme midget show. It's the first time Extreme had went there. I think it was actually, not have been towards the end of the year, beginning, one of the two, but midgets were cool there. They had the mic. I hear the micros there are way better though.
Micros rip. Like the midgets are almost too big a little, maybe. Like it feels small with them. The micros, man, they do rip. Sheldon Creed and Jade and, a couple of the bigger names that day were there. It wasn't all of them, but it was a few, and it was. I think Jade ended up winning that race. Actually, she won that micro. That was fun.
I will say, a lot of people like to make fun of micros, but if you get micros on a track that's purposely built for them, that's some of the best fucking racing you could see, dude. Delta out on the West Coast, Plaza Park, Shootout, I think is a better micro track. Port City, Elanco, Silver Springs. I mean, some of these tracks, action track.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some badass racing. They're going at it. Now, if you put them at a regular quarter mile, like a Path Valley or something that's built for wide, big cars, it's not as good. But if you get them on those little short tracks, little small tracks, they're some of the best racing there is.
Yeah. The two times I've been to action track recently was for the USAC national race. Unbelievable. The first year they went there, they went nonstop in the feature. The big cars, 410s around the action track, wild.
That was my last time there. Was that first?
Was it?
The Impossible?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, but the micros, it was all bottom. Nobody moved. I was a little disappointed. It almost felt too big for them. But people told me nah, most weeks they're up moving around and up top micros, and I'm like, I've been there twice and I didn't see that either night. Now I don't know if they prepped the track for national cars, for the big cars. So it was kind of gripped up, for the little cars. But that place is cool.
The USAC and big block races look like they're pretty good there, believe it or not. Like the USAC sprint car. I know
the sprint car races.
It was wild. It somehow they make it work, and it was entertaining. I mean, it's wide enough for them to do things, thankfully.
Right. The voice of the All-Star Circuit of Champions, Alex Robinson, asking, When are you gonna come to an All-Star show?
Oh my
You've had
god!
one. It's been a while. Like you missed a bunch. You had
Yeah,
one race.
yeah, they've only had one, and it was an upset, right? Everybody thought Cap Henry was going to win, and then his illegitimate cousin or whatever beat him from 10,000 years ago. They got separated in the cerebri cortex or whatever, and there's a Henry family on the West Coast, and there's one in Ohio, and somebody had to name everyone Henry at one point, so they got to be related.
Henry versus Henry.
Yeah, but no, Caleb Henry won the race, which interesting. I don't know. I mean, we'd have to look at their schedule.
They're off for a month until they come to Lincoln and Williams Grove in June, and that's how I know their next race.
Well, we'll see. I think the All-Stars, I think this is the case for a bunch of sprint car fans. We need to see what the All-Stars is before we start trying to go and see them.
Yeah.
That's where everybody in sprint car racing is there, because we know it's not the Reitzel, Tyler Courtney, Zeb Wise, Justin Peck, All-Stars type of deal anymore. So what is it?
It could be, right? If it ends up working, you could end up with that next generation of guys. Not that these guys aren't, but who knows, right? Like,
well, I think the problem with what you're saying is I think a lot of these teams are planning, 4 or 5 years out, especially if your kid's doing good at 14. And they have already kind of shifted because the All-Stars went away. They kind of already shifted, and we're seeing benefits of guys. Instead of trying to go the All-Stars or something to get ready for high limit, just go to NARC or just go to Knoxville or just go to the Houstons or just go to PA or, instead of trying to go on some tour, So hopefully they can get back there, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be as easier said than done, because it's took a big hit compared to what it was.
Well, and it's very limited schedule. That's now. I mean, at least early on, right? It's very limited, and guys you got a lot of, and that's why I think, like you said, California, wherever, and like PA, it's not a series, it's not touring, but you can come here and run 100 races in the summer if you want.
Right, and if you got the money, you could do that, and then go and hit Eldora and hit Knoxville like the typical PA guy does, and then if you want to go national racing, you're ready to go.
Yeah, you can get your ass kicked for a year, you start to improve, and go to it. It's not. Seen that a bunch.
So we got to see what the new All-Stars is, because right now, just not being disrespectful, but y'all's lineup is like 4th in the nation. I think behind High Limit and the World of Outlaws right now, the next toughest competition is NARC. Just have to say it. I mean, at that point, as far as series or anything, then I'd say behind that's Pennsylvania. And then I'd say right there, just about where that's at, is the Iowa-Houston corridor. And then you're going to maybe put this new All-Stars there. But who knows? I mean, IRA is looking fucking stout right now. I mean, they got a lineup. Power Eye Nationals paying $50,000 to win the championship this year. And they got some decent names on their list. So what's the All-Stars going to do?
I think the All-Stars, we're trying to go back to that being that regional series, kind of what it was before it turned into what the All-Stars became. And the thing
while they were gone, since the
All-Stars kind of left that, you had more regional series come in.
Yeah, the Attica Fremont, Maverick.
And now they got more competition than when they were the regional series.
And IRA's been around for a while, and they're getting a good list. But IRA, Wisconsin's, I would say Wisconsin is second in race fans behind PA. It's a huge area as far as fandom is concerned.
Yeah, they got nothing else to do, until football season. So.
And get drunk. That's capital of the world. Or eat each other, Jeffrey Dahmer. Anyway.
Or that. Close second.
But I mean, saying NARC is number 3 is one thing, but geographically, it's almost impossible for some regular guy to just relocate his life to, California. But Chase Randall relocated his life to Iowa and did the Knoxville Houston's route before he went high limit. I mean, and I feel like people would relocate to PA if they think it's going to give them the same offering of an opportunity.
We've seen it. It's happened. Trey Starks, Devin Borden, Michael
Ashton Torgenson.
I mean, they relocated. These guys relocated and lived here. Whether it worked or they didn't, they moved from. They're true West Coast guys. Borden, Trey Starks back in the day, they were literally the West Coast and said, I'm going East Coast, whether it worked or not. But the other one you mentioned and sort of briefly there I'd put up as far as a competition goes is the weekly Knoxville roster.
Mm-hmm.
That
and I'm throwing Houston's in there because if you're trying to develop, you want to do both.
You're going to run both of those.
Because it's a Sunday track. Houston's is a Sunday track.
Yeah, and like that group or that roster there, even though it's not a series, that group is strong. I mean, there's some good race car drivers in that group that show up weekly.
And it's obviously a very important stage. You know, I said this when High Limit up showed them kind of at the Outlaw race. Even though we know in a sprint car world that the Outlaw roster is better than High Limit, if High Limit can beat them on Knoxville stages and Eldora stages, the public can easily be twisted into thinking that High Limit's superior just because they're beating them on that bigger stage. And if you do go to Knoxville and race weekly, you're getting obviously quality laps. I mean, the High Limit roster besides Tyler Courtney was at Knoxville basically this last weekend. I mean, you had everyone there. So I think, you know, going to that Midwest, you know, if you're trying to develop and you do, like you say, Knoxville, you do Houston's on the Sunday, you hit an IRA race, you know, and now because there's 2 national tours, the Midwest is getting 2 swings now instead of just 1 from the Outlaws. You know, they're getting a High Limit and a Outlaw swing involved. So there's more 410 racing happening in the Midwest, and you're in proximity of Knoxville and pretty decent proximity to Eldora. So PA, I think, has kind of lost that. I think it's kind of lost a little bit because of this, because now the Midwest, instead of y'all getting multiple Outlaw swings and getting to race national competition more than the Midwest and other areas, the Midwest now in this whole region is getting 2. Yeah, it's getting 2 swings with the rise of IRA, with Power I coming up in the Missouri area. That's right below Iowa. So, yeah, this whole corridor here, even Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, it's starting to really fire up for 410 racing because of what's happened with the technically we could blame the All-Stars and High Limit. Technically.
You know, I hate the comparison who has a better roster. I hate it. How could you ever really say one's better than the other?
It's just really fun to talk.
It's
really fun.
I hate it. No, I'm opinionated.
Why do you? Okay, how about why do you hate it? I mean, Tony loves it because now he's got his races at Eldora and these match races, and these are bigger than ever now, and everyone's watching because of this debate. But why do you hate it?
I don't think creating division, even from the fan standpoint, is good for the sport. You're going to create loyalty with one or the other, not both, and we all should be supporting both. Okay. I don't think putting a wedge between it to pick one bet over the other or your favorite.
Okay, so hold on, back down. This is good. We're going to cut this one. This is going to be a clip. Y'all need to cut this. Timestamp it. What is support?
Showing up and paying to be at the race.
Okay. Watching isn't? Streaming watching isn't anymore?
Well, for Flow, I guess it is. I mean, that's a publicly traded
Dirt Vision too. I mean, at least Flow gives the tracks a cut. Dirt Vision ain't cutting the tracks anything, from my understanding. Flow's actually giving them something.
I guess it could, but they're racing at the same time. You're picking one or the other. I mean, some people are diehards and maybe watch both at the same time, but I don't think that's going to happen a lot.
I think that's happening. I don't know if anybody's a sprint car fan not watching both. If you're sitting at home.
If I'm at home, I have Flow. I don't have Dirt Vision.
Why?
I'm a Brent Marks fan.
So you have own division and choice in your own way, but you don't like division and choice?
Well, kinda, yeah. I mean,
or is it how much Dirt Vision is? Is that really the issue?
It's more that, and I won't use it because I'm at the racetrack more than not. Flow isn't a bad deal. I can watch it. Some nights there's West Coast racing when I leave Port Royal or Williams Grove or Lincoln. I can go turn it on and watch it. And I'm personally a Brent Marks fan. When he was with the Outlaws, I had Dirt Vision. So as a fan of that driver, I followed it. But for me to sit here and say, "Oh, I'm a Brent fan, so I like the High Limit roster better," I'm saying, "Hey, don't support that. Don't go over there. Don't worry about that." I don't love that as a view that we have to pick a side as a fan, because the fan that does pick a side picks one. If they don't know a lot and they're not a diehard like us, they're going to pick one. Or they like Kyle Larson, so they're going to go over there, and that's what they want, right? Each entity wants that. But I don't know if it's necessarily a healthy thing for us to take a fan and say, "Go do this one, go do that one, watch that one."
I mean, I think there is growth and popularity when there's division. You could even look into politics. I mean, how popular was politics before Trump got on a stage and said, "Fuck you, Hillary"? You know, politics is bigger now than it ever has been in our entire lifetime, and it's because of the division-based politics that they're playing. We're paying attention to both sides because they're telling us to.
Man, I hope it never gets.
I'm just using examples.
Yeah,
I don't know if we have any evidence that shows that people aren't watching both because the debate is there.
Maybe the
Who's
diehards are
better?
the ones that speak up about division.
Well, and the thing is that once again, that does add emphasis to these quote unquote match races that are happening, because now we're here to show you up, motherfucker. You know, it's our team versus your team now, and that's making these events almost like the late model world. But the late model world's smart with it. You know, they're national tours. They run 45 races and take weekends off for one another. So, I mean, it's not the same, but and maybe that's an issue. You know, maybe them racing on the same weekend all the time or a majority of the time, is that ever going to work? You know, if you're worried about people watching or going to a race, if you are racing against one another, somebody's got to pick somebody.
I hope that there's enough demand for both at the same time for a long term. I hope. I really do. I mean, I think it's better that they both exist a long time. I struggle. Is there enough demand for both forever long term?
Well, and you know, that franchise deal, you lose fucking Gravel and Macedo off of the World of Outlaws, you know, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm spending the amount of money these teams are spending, and I'm looking at the money that could potentially be made, and I got a top 5 team in the nation, so how much am I really going to eat crow financially to be a World Outlaw champion? You know, when does that change? That's
Dennis
the question.
Feigl there. Is Dennis Feigl one of your followers? I don't know that name.
I don't know.
Well, I needed Dirt Vision to watch Brent on Saturday. No, I didn't, because I was actually at the racetrack, not watching anything but what I was watching. So didn't really need it.
Well, you needed fucking Sprint Car Unlimited to see Ashton Torgenson win, you know, fuck.
And yeah, I think a lot of people were like, wow, he actually won. That's anyway. Yeah. No, but yeah, I don't have Dirt Vision, you know. I try to I don't know.
Calling the kettle black. Okay.
You're the other one. You have Dirt Vision, not Flow.
Yeah. Well, and that's just because most of the time, well, I'm around people most of the time, and most everybody has Flow due to the affordability of it.
Yeah.
That's the big difference there.
Yep.
You know, I think it averages to $1,250 a month at $150 a year.
Yeah.
So
good deal.
That was absolutely the one for me. I when I realized, you know, I'd watch Flow more anyway, and Dirt Vision, I wouldn't watch it often, and the cost of it, just what didn't seem worth.
Well, how about this? Before Brent Marks went on the road full time, were you watching either? Did you have either of them?
I had Dirt Vision
for the Outlaws.
For the Outlaws back then, I did have Dirt Vision, and there was probably a 2-year span I had both, but I rarely used both because I ended up at the damn racetrack every weekend, and I'm like, why am I paying for this?
Right. You're just watching to see an update, basically. And really, their highlights 10 minutes after the race is over is what's really fucking Dirt Vision and Flow.
Yeah, I still haven't watched the Knoxville highlights from last weekend. I still never got to it. Didn't even look it up.
The only reason I got Dirt Vision is so I could watch the Nationals, really. I mean, I still watch, you know, the Outlaws during the week, but like Jay-Z said, like during the weekend, we're at the track, and then I end up just catching the highlights later anyway. Unless we have a rain out, then I'll watch it at home.
You know what's great?
Really, if they didn't have that national deal, I probably would not have Dirt Vision.
Is there anything else? I gotta pee, unless I can pee and come back.
Yeah, you can get out of here. We'll do our. I guess Chris.
Yeah, we could get through the rest of what we had planned here.
Okay.
You can get out of here.
Okay. So I can pee and come back, or no?
Yeah,
you can come back. Yeah. Come on back,
okay.
Or you can leave.
You just go into your deal, and then I'll come back and interrupt.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
So Port Royal, as he's leaving here, Ryan Smith wins. Let's take a look at points. Brock Zerfoss retains the lead. Justin Whittle moves up to second. Michael Walter, Gerard McIntyre falls down to third and fourth. Halligan, Logan Wagner, DeWeese, Cody Lehman, Chase Dietz, and Doug Hammaker round out your top 10. That's your early points standings there. Some other winners from this weekend. We already kind of talked a little bit about the Lucas Oil race at Port Royal. Ricky Thornton Jr. with the win. Good battle with Jonathan Davenport. Pretty much just kind of blew him away later. Hudson O'Neal moved up from 23rd to 9th. He was the hard charger. Greg Satterley, great run. Finishes 5th. Rick Eckert also with the top 10. Not as many cars as I expected there. And the track wasn't bad, but we had a great time. Yeah, shout out Steph and Justin and Matt. We all hung out in turn 2, had a great time. That was my first late model only race.
Nice.
Had a good time, even though I wouldn't say the racing was bad. It just wasn't what you usually see. So, but still, great job by Ricky Thornton Jr. Awesome race. Gary Stuhler also, 24th to 12th. This might have been the race of the weekend here in PA was Christian Bruno in that USAC East Coast race. Briggs Danner dominated this one, and then they got into some lap traffic, and Christian they were gaining, but him and Kenny Miller were gaining on Briggs Danner there, and it was a hell of a battle with him and I think Dravicki as well. It was like a 4-car battle for the lead as they got into lap traffic, and Christian Bruno pulls it off there in the last about 2 laps as they catch up to lap traffic there. Awesome race. It was kind of interesting, this USAC East Coast deal. I was interested to see how many they would get. They got 19 cars, but they invited Tony Jackson, who's a sportsman driver, to run the USAC East Coast thing. And he looked good. I mean, he was like mid-pack for a guy who's not in a true 360. I thought that was very interesting to try to get some cars, and I'm sure it's something that they might try here in the future to try to just continue to try to keep this series getting some cars.
Yeah,
otherwise,
like in the feature, he actually brought out yellow. You know that, right? And
yeah,
I was concerned he was going to break the freaking car and he wouldn't be able to run the sportsman feature, but thankfully he was able to come back out and ends up, which we'll see here in a second, winning the super sportsman race. But yeah, this was a great race. Very different lines to get through the race in 1 and 2. Briggs was running sort of a diamond line. He'd slide up, come down. Christian was running the bottom. Dravicki was kind of in between. And this was a very competitive for being a slow, kind of a slow pace, slow racetrack at that point. It's really slowed down. It was, and man, Christian Bruno, what a drive. Great job by him.
Yeah, awesome race. I'm hoping that this series can get some more cars here in the future. And I don't think that the sportsman route, inviting maybe some of the top sportsman drivers out, is a bad route. I don't. Tony Jackson showed more than enough that he could hold his own, and I think there's a couple other sportsman guys that could probably do that if they got to that point. So, felt a little bit bad for Briggs just because he really dominated this race, and it was kind of, Bruno and them were on his tail, but he was doing what he needed to hold that lead, and then kind of the lap. I don't want to blame it on the lap traffic. He just didn't navigate it right and let Christian get around him. And then a couple others. Tony Jackson wins the Wingless Sportsman feature. This one wasn't really close. Shout out to our buddy Brett Perigo. Lost power steering on lap 2 and then lost his left rear rotor completely off and but he was running up there. But Tony Jackson doing Tony Jackson things in the wingless.
Hey, listen, let's be honest though. He ran Steve Wilbur down and passed him at Port Royal out of the lead. Like, it wasn't like he passed a guy that was leading for the first time. It was a little battle. They were kind of a little pushing and shoving. They bumped each other a couple times. I was entertained. I was like, okay, this is a battle. We got something to watch here for sure. And Tony did take control and took the win. So, second win of the year. Yeah,
I'm sure more to come. And then a couple others real quick. Derek Locke wins the URC race at Selinsgrove over... I had it here.
I think Ryan Taylor ended up P2.
Josh Weller and Ryan Taylor was 3rd. Nash Ely was 4th. And Hayden Miller. Davey Franick was 9th. They had about 20 cars show up for it. Also, Doug Dodson wins the 305. Shout out to our buddy Tyler Shell. He was second race ever in a 305. 1 spot out from making the feature. But yeah, Doug Dodson wins over Kenny Hefner and Cruz Kepner. Those guys. Logan Spar was 5th. They had 33 cars come out. And then Tim Schaefer wins at Lernerville in the 410s on Sunday. We're going to give a special shout out here to Carmen Perigo. First 410 race here in the Stamen 21 car. No, that's not Chase Dietz. That is Carmen Perigo with a wing on. How about that one? P11, and he went to P11 twice. He started from the back. I think he had to make it in from the B main, I think Brett said. Got up to about the top 10, spun out, went to the back, drove back up again. But Tim Schaefer wins this one over AJ Flick, Ricky Peterson, who was our guest a couple weeks ago, Dan Shelter, and Jeremy Weaver. Greg Wilson was 6th. Devin Borden was 7th. Cole Duncan, Michael Bauer, and John Jarrich. And then Carmen Perigo, P11. Look at how happy Brett. How did he knew he was getting his picture taken? Look at how happy he is.
Smiley with that hat too. Look at that.
So let's take a look. Oh, World of Outlaws real quick. Kyle Larson here at Jacksonville getting the win over Brady Bacon and Carson Macedo. Yeah, he just drove the shit out of it. That's what it is. Logan Schuart, David Gravel to round out the top 5. And then Saturday night at Hopstadt, Sheldon Hodgshield finally gets a win. Buddy Kofoid, Tyler Courtney, 3rd. Emerson Axum, David Gravel rounding out the top 5. Logan Schuart, plus 13-year hard charger, finishing 8th. Parker Price Miller was back in that McGee 11. This was kind of, it was out of nowhere. I didn't know that this was coming, but when we heard that he was in that, first that car was back up, but then PPM was in it. Good to see that car back out there on the track.
So I saw a lot of hate for Hobstadt after this race. Was it bad?
I don't know. I watched the highlights. I thought it was fine.
Like a lot of people kind of shitting on the surface and the racetrack a little bit. I saw a little more hate than I remember from previous times with 410s being there. I mean, did you watch any of this, Chaz? Am I missing something here that people are not thrilled with this?
I mean, I don't really get it. I mean, I feel like people complain about Hobstadt because they work the track a lot. You know, they kind of want it to be hooked up and good. They're not big fans of slicked off surfaces, apparently. I feel like the dirt track world wants that kind of slick middle, cushion, little bottom to tote around on, and they kind of want that slammer in there, hooked up, short track action, which I didn't think it was bad. It wasn't rubbered up, didn't eat nobody's tires. I mean, so what it's hard to please all the fans, you know. World of Outlaws are high limit. Which one's better? I mean, you're complaining. So
I going back though to the Larson at Jacksonville, that's still a track I want to see in person. I want to go and watch this place, a 410 show, specifically Outlaws, a touring series, the best of the best. This place looks, every time I watch it, year after year, no matter the winner or how it goes, it always looks, man, like they are just on the edge, you know, driving hard, technical yet curbed up, driving. I don't know. This place is just, it's a bucket list racetrack for me.
Yeah.
Have you visited this place?
I was there. I was there for the race this last weekend. That's why I'm up here in Illinois. But yeah, I mean, anytime you can get sprint cars on a short track, that's where the shit's at, in my opinion. That's why I think Path Valley is the best racetrack up there. You know, even though, I mean, it might not be the best facility, but you know, you get these wing cars and you take the wing out of the equation a little bit, and they can start driving these fucking things. Placerville's another one you should add to the list. Merced, some of these, you know, any kind of track, you got to get up on it and drive. And once again, I don't know if you saw my reaction to the Jacksonville situation, but Kyle Larson just destroyed our entire roster, embarrassed them. I mean, I'm done personally with thinking that these guys are just as good as Kyle. They just didn't have opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Late model guys can say they're just as good, but these sprint car guys, I mean, what Kyle did to them was embarrassing. And then you got Carson Macedo getting out of the car on the front straightaway saying he's just better than me, basically. Yeah. I can't do what he does. I mean,
unbelievable. He's an alien. I mean, what he was doing with the car and made it look easy. He makes the difficult look easy against the best of the best. And that's what I think we saw here. When he went around Macedo and made that work and had no momentum, still got to drive off the corner, didn't pull the tires off the ground, and then drove it in harder and faster against the guys that do it every weekend, all year, every year. It's just.
I mean, at that point, I said it in my little rant. I said, y'all complain and say these drivers got to start up front. These are single file races because, the cars are so equal and it's so hard to pass. I don't know if that's true anymore. I just think maybe, Chris Bell and Larson ain't in our tours because you could have started Kyle Larson 20th and he would have won the fucking race.
Unbelievable.
There ain't nobody else you could have said. Maybe Bell could have, but outside of that, I don't see anyone on the roster right now that can do what he's able to do. I mean, and I did say this, and it could be playing a factor in this year's scenario. Larson was entering 3 and 4, and that's where he beat him at Jacksonville, a full car length higher. And they knew that, and they opted to not drive that line. And that's exactly what Carson said. I saw what he was doing, but I just can't do it. That was the same style of line that they ran at the Chili Bowl. It's this groove that isn't on the cushion. It's like on top of the cushion. It's like this new Larson line or whatever it is. And you get them on these tracks where it's on the top any kind of way. And I just think Larson's going to dominate from here on out until they figure out or drop their balls or whatever and start trying to figure out how to do it. But he just was just destroyed him. I mean, it's pathetic.
Do you think like situations like this that, like Macedo, gravel, whatever, that it's a little bit of points racing. They do what they can because they're good at it. They do what they do. But when this kind of thing happens, they realize there's more that they could go harder. They could do other things, be more creative. I don't know.
And this is the problem, with, for instance, I'll give you an example. Down in Texas, there was a track called Cowtown Speedway, extremely fast, one of the fastest quarter miles I ever saw. So they had sprint cars. They brought them back there for 1 year. And there was a guy in the field who was really strong, and this guy named Benny Cordell was winning every single weekend. The next year comes along, and another driver comes in named Kevin Ramey, who's extremely good, and he runs a completely different line and laps the fucking field. And then after 3 or 4 months, it was about 2 months, the rest of the field had finally learned how to drive his line and got to catching him and got to beating him. But I think that's also the other issue we have when we don't have Larson and Bell on our tours full time is we don't have a real lead horse. We don't have a lead horse actually showing our guys the full capabilities of the car. And as long as they can just win at their pace.
That's right. That's what I'm kind of saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I'm not denying what you're saying, but that's the problem. They don't truly have a lead horse that's getting the most out of these. Right? The only guy that's close to Larson's extremity is Hoddenchild, and he don't have the consistency to even get close to what Kyle does.
Yeah.
And that's just true. That's not mean, but I think it's hurting our fields. It's hurting our talent because they're not getting shown the right way around the racetrack week in and week out. And I think that's becoming more evident for me, at least over the last couple of weeks.
And I'm not necessarily a Larson guy that I'm like when a race starts on dirt that I'm looking for him and watching him and rooting for him. I'm not that guy, but I absolutely respect and appreciate what the fuck he can do behind the wheel of a sprint car. And when he does it, I appreciate the hell out of it because we're not going to see this very often. This doesn't come along that often in a lifetime. I was at the late end of Steve Kinzer. I watched him dominate for a long time. I for sure. Donnie Schatz did it in a different way. Kyle Larson's doing it in a different way from that, and beating up on these guys that are regulars. And the people that don't like it because he wins, I think, are missing out on a generational hey, you need to be paying attention and appreciating what he can do with this at part time. It's unbelievable.
Right. Well, and I think the deal that Jacksonville showed me the most is the reason I love short tracks as well is you could take your little fucking Morrison motor and your fancy car setup guy and all this shit and throw it out the fucking window.
Yeah.
If you can't drive this fucking race car, you ain't gonna do shit at Jacksonville. You can't just ride around there and your bars flex for you the right way and you just run the curb at Knoxville or float the middle or even Eldora to a certain extent. At Jacksonville, these short tracks, you got to get up on the fucking wheel and drive. And most of the time, the best drivers win. And he literally was on another level of driver. So you could almost toss Paul Silva out the fucking window at that Jacksonville scenario because the race cars did not make the difference there. The driver of Kyle Larson.
You mean the underbody aero tricks didn't help?
It didn't help. It didn't help. The crank triggers, the Kevin Now scenario, I don't know. The MSD, I mean, the watch didn't help. The watch didn't help.
The Bluetooth watch
It did. The Bluetooth watch didn't help. You could have buzzed his wrist 1,000 times. He made everyone else look like they were buzzing their wrists and jacking off as he was out there, putting it on them. I mean.
And somebody finally beat Brady Bacon at Jacksonville. I mean, that helps,
Right. Well, and some people wanted me to praise Brady Bacon. Well, he was on the same pace I'm arguing about. He beat the regular person the pace, Yeah. I mean, the only problem is the repercussion when Kyle does that. You had guys the next day saying, I don't like when Kyle goes and beats up on these failed NASCAR drivers, So, I mean, that's the other angle. The other failed NASCAR drivers, guys who really ain't that good and old. That's what people start believing this sport is when that happens. So that's the manipulation. But that's what NASCAR likes. That's why they pulled Kyle up there so they could say they got a boy better than all of us.
Looking at the point standings here, so you're not putting David Gravel in that conversation at all? With how dominant he's been with the World of Outlaws here?
He's supposed to be the number one hitter, the guy we can contend to maybe be on a Kyle Larson level speed, but he fucking started on the pole and fell throughout the field.
Yeah, he didn't look strong from the get go. Was losing some spots, but he's shown these moments of dominance. But is it against the guys at that speed?
What kind of tracks are we on?
Right. I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not taking anything from Gravel. He's doing everything he has to do to do the job that he's hired to do. But heads up, that kind of racetrack, it's Larson all day long.
And why though?
He's better.
Okay. And so he's the best of the rest. Okay.
Yeah. He's the best of the rest after Sweet left too. So there's that.
Taking your shots now, Andrew Bowman.
Sorry.
Yeah, the asterisk here. You got to
ask. Years ago, I'm not a fan.
Hey,
but he's doing his job right now.
Somebody made a really good note after that race happened. Somebody messaged me and said, that's the difference between Kyle Larson and these sprint car drivers. Kyle Larson, I think, drew a 7 in the dash for the dash draw at that race. And he just talked on the mic like, yeah, we got a good car. We're looking forward to tonight. We're good. And they mentioned how if Gravel draws a 7, he almost looks like his fucking whole life ends. And he gets into the sad mode and starts crying.
Not good.
And it's this is the difference. This is the difference. This is the true difference between Kyle Larson and these leftovers. Now that's what they are. They don't have any confidence. They don't have the confidence to put that fucking car above the cushion and stick a same line. They don't have the confidence to come from 9th and win or 7th and win. They think if they ain't there, we can't do it. That's a confidence issue, in my opinion.
I don't know what it is. I mean, we're fans, but yeah, you're right. You see it. These guys pull that number and they're just like their whole night rested on that.
Mm-hmm. They have no confidence.
Larson has some kid pull the number, barely looks at it, does the interview, and goes and gets in a driver's race car.
And wins the race. He don't lack the confidence that he can't win from fucking 7th.
And different level of pressure, maybe. He's not running for points. There's all this, there's all that. Yeah. And that he's afforded himself that luxury. Look, he's good as it gets. The year he ran full-time race sprint cars, he won everything he could fucking win anywhere against anybody.
He's ran 7 races this year in the Outlaws and won 4.
Right. These other guys, they're doing it like 7th is their death sentence. Well,
and the only other you could literally say, he should have, could have, would have won 5 if Christopher Bell wasn't at Volusia.
And he was better than him that night. Just couldn't get around him.
Right. So and at the end of the day, the Volusia race was worse for me. And I did the whole black eye video. Not sure if you saw that video. It was great, but the Volusia one was worse when Kyle Larson drove around David Gravel in dirty air. That's worse. You know, maybe you could blame the race car on that. That's the only reason it could be better. Oh, he had a better car. That's why he could do it. But usually in these half-mile races, we're waiting for the leader to get to the back of the pack so we can have a race.
Yep.
And Kyle Larson ran his ass down and passed him. And that never happens. But so half miles, he's doing this to our guys. Quarter miles, he's doing it to our guys. It's just the fucking results are in.
Yeah.
You know.
And it continues. Hell, I think he got bored of winning. Went and ran late models for 2 years.
Well, late models ran his ass out of the building, for the record.
He did. Listen, for a guy who
did good.
He had some success.
He had success on the cushion. What track did he win races on when they were floating the middle?
I can tell you,
he was running 12th.
Got it.
That's what I'm saying. If it was on the cushion, Kyle Larson, and maybe that's a contentional reason here for Jacksonville. It wasn't the case of Volusia. But when a track's on the cushion, we got to understand that Kyle Larson is not a NASCAR driver. Kyle Larson is not a late model driver. Kyle Larson is a West Coast sprint car driver. That's what he is.
Yeah.
So when you put his ass in a fucking sprint car, you're in Kyle Larson's world. That's what he's done his whole life. And when it comes to West Coast, you're really fucking good at hammering a cushion and holding your car. So late model racing, I almost feel like his sprint car experience mixed with his NASCAR Cup experience was like the best prep you could ever have to get into a super, because they're almost like a split in a way.
Some arrows, yeah.
And he won the races on the cushion. I mean, and he didn't blow the tires. You know, footwork is real. You know, Larson's brakes, I don't know if people are paying attention, but they're glowing more than anybody. So Larson's footwork is what is really winning all these races. And I do think that the Cup car, the asphalt stuff does teach a pretty foot, believe it or not. I do think it does. And trail braking is huge on the asphalt side too, to keep the car underneath you, to keep the corner speed. So there are some things that I think transfer if you're a Kyle Larson West Coast sprint car driver at heart, that you can learn racing these other bigger tracks and shit that you can you could bring over that set of tools and get some advantages that our guys are just like, what are we doing? We don't know what to do.
Watching Corey Day run Port Royal the other year, never really seen the place, knocking the wall down harder than anyone. Now, blew a tire, but like some of that drive it harder on the cushion, footwork, you know, unbelievable.
Right. Unbelievable. Right. And that's a West Coast staple. If you don't do that on the West Coast, you don't fucking run well. You run 7th at Chico like Ashton Torgenson. You know, if you don't do that, you're out to lunch. But once again, Kyle Larson is just, what he's showing is just the truth. And right now, the truth of the matter is, if Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell was on a national scene, everybody's racing for fucking third.
Essentially, yeah, pretty much.
And David Gravel is maybe Doug Wolfgang, and there's Sammy and Steve.
I mean, he is leading here, 72 points up right now. He's been up at the top of the points since the beginning of the year. He's very consistent, if anything. I mean, he's
not far back. If he's not on the top, he's not far back.
No.
Yeah, but who's he got to beat? Let's look here at this list.
We've got Logan Schuhart, Carson Macedo, Buddy Kofoid, Sheldon Shield, Donnie Schatz down in 6, Gio, Bill Baylog, Chris Wyndham, and Garrett Williamson. Your top 10 right now in points.
So how many nights? What I'm saying by that is, how many nights of the week, if you're betting your life on it, is Sheldon, Donnie, Silsey, Baylog, any of these guys outrunning?
It's Logan and Carson, and it's probably Carson. You know,
it's Logan, Carson, and Kofoid when he's not scared,
or Sheldon at the right place. You know,
I thought Carson
majority
was
of the time
an extra step up and really. I mean, he is, but I really picked him to win the Outlaw title this year, and he still can. I'm not saying he can't, but David Gravel's just showing why he is David Gravel. You know, just so consistent. Like, his bad night is a 5th or a 6th place.
Yeah.
At this point.
Well, and I think he is the only guy to really have that kind of, you know, David does have that ego to him to want to be the best, you know, and he's probably the only one guy that when I say what I say, he's like, all right, motherfucker. You know, he's probably one of the only ones getting mad because Carson's in victory lane, you know, saying they're better. So it's not affecting him. He's conceding. I don't think that David Gravel's conceding that Kyle's better. So that's a deal. And he is representing the sprint car racing world when Kyle's in the building. He is the number one guy in sprint car racing. I think everybody agrees there. So he's got to start smacking Kyle in the face or fight him in the pits or something.
I tell you what, the year Logan has had to start is encouraging for getting to the tracks that he does well at. Eldora coming this weekend. Logan Schuhart could win this weekend easily, and it wouldn't surprise anybody. He's good at Eldora. I'm obviously he's local here in that team and what he's done, and this has a very 2020 vibe. With the last year, he had a really strong season. That new pairing with
Kyle.
With Kyle is really, really paying off dividends here for them.
It's Pruitt, right? Kyle Pruitt.
Kyle Pruitt, yeah.
Okay.
Really paying off dividends. I like Logan's consistency. He hasn't knocked off the wins yet, but if he gets a few wins with this consistency and gets on a run, but we need to see it. It's just been a while.
Well, and that's been the issue with Logan. How many times have we predicted him to be a championship contender, and he usually starts the first 3 months off the pace,
Yeah. Best start he's had since that year he contended for a lot of the year. It's been, what was that, 20 or 21?
I think it was 21.
I think it was 21, yeah.
Yeah.
Because 2020, I think COVID wiped out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
21 was the first full season back, I believe.
Yeah. So, encouraging. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Let's take a look here at the weekend.
Oh, here you come. Forecasts.
Forecast. We got a forecast here for
it's Pennsylvania. We have to.
This is demonic.
We got
They're
to.
believing in future telling abilities. Only God can do this. This is demonic.
All right. Now there he is. There's the Chaz I've been waiting for all night.
Oh, really? You want the conspiracy?
But real quick, Friday.
We got
Friday's
2 beers
looking,
in. No, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Friday's looking decent. Williams Grove and Sealands Grove both got races. Obviously, 410s at Williams Grove. 80 degrees, some showers, 50-50. Probably looks clear throughout the night. Saturday, BAPS got AMA, and then Lincoln and Port both got races. Lincoln, the Outlaw tune-up. A little bit cooler. Well, Sunday looks good. Not really too much rain in the forecast. So here, like I said, Outlaw tune-up here at Williams Grove. $7, $25 to get in. Or 7 p.m., $25 to get in. And then Sealands Grove, super late models, limited late models, and road runners.
Hey, Friday night, 358 makeup. They have a program and a makeup feature.
What is a road runner? What is?
It's like it's a street stock.
Okay,
essentially.
Small tire street stock, not the big wide tires. They got the smaller ones.
Radials.
If you cannot make it to Williams Grove, it'll be on Dirt Vision. Saturday here, Lincoln, again, Outlaw tune-up plus a Summer Series 358 race. Port Royal has 410s, limited late models, and 305 sprints. I'm sure there'll be like 75 of those. That's on Flow Racing. And then BAPS does have AMA flat track there. Something different than what they normally have. Getting to the National Series, High Limit Texarkana on Wednesday, and then Texas Motor Speedway Thursday and Saturday. Weather's looking pretty good for the most part. A little bit of threat of some thunderstorms on Wednesday at Texarkana. We'll see how that plays out, but it's going to be warm down there. And looks pretty good. I'll catch all these on Flow Racing. Wednesday, I believe that's the start of the midweek money series. I think that's
midweek racing is back. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
Doing a Wednesday.
Brandon Zirk, is Grove time trials? Yes, Grove and Lincoln will be time trials. They're both Outlaw tune-ups, so it'll be straight.
Grove is Outlaw tune-up?
It should be.
Is it?
They always do it the week before.
Do they go? Do they race at Lincoln Wednesday now and Grove Friday?
Yeah, it's next week.
Oh no, Lincoln's Tuesday.
Lincoln's next Tuesday, and then they come right after Eldora here.
So that should be the Morgan Cup, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So they should all be Outlaw. They're all. When I was going through it, I was pretty sure that's what I read, was that they're all Outlaw.
Yeah. Okay.
Outlaw tune-up format. But High Limit is back. It's been off for a few weeks. Should have, and like we said, there's going to be this guy there.
I don't know.
Car. It's crazy to see the 69K on something that's not the blue and orange.
Has it ever looked any different since? I don't know if it's ever looked any different for any race since I was a kid. Literally, I'm 43 years old. Since I can remember going to the racetrack, this car hasn't looked different than it with subtle differences. It's been blue and orange.
Money over everything.
Oh no, listen, they're not going to say no to this, but it is so strange. It is so strange to see.
Shout out to the Beer Hill Gang logo right
They
there.
should have
right in
just
front of
changed the
front tire.
fucking number to a 20 and just went the whole fucking direction and just made it a team for Chris Bell. I mean,
All right, you're out of here. Beat it.
why even put the 69K on the car?
Because that's who owns the damn thing.
Yeah, but if it's not what it is, why is it there? Because it's the blue, orange, black scheme. That's the 69K. You don't even have to look at the color to know that it's there.
Don't make this make sense, damn it. All right.
Okay.
Let's hang on to that.
You just be all right with the team selling out for a paint scheme and money. That's fine.
Hey, if they get to live on because of it, I'm here for it.
And if they get into victory lane here in any of these races, is he racing somewhere else on Friday too? I believe
there's a cherry pick race on Friday. Yes.
Yeah. There's another track down there. It's like 10 grand.
It's in Paris.
It'll
Texas.
probably be the best race of the weekend. It's another short track, very high banked. It's going to be a badass fucking race. It's at
Paris,
Rocket Raceway Park in Paris, Texas. It's actually in Petty. I don't know why they said Paris, but it's about an hour from TMS. But it's a big quarter mile, high bank, sweeping corners. It should be a really badass race, but it's a power I race.
Texarkana 67 Speedway. There's some of these random tracks that they've been touring series at, but I don't know this track much. Is there anything significant about this place other than if I looked it up?
In my personal opinion, the biggest asshole in the world is the promoter there, so I don't like to talk about their racetrack.
All right, moving on.
But for the sake of the actual legacy of the Speedway and not the asshole running it, it's a really good racetrack. It's awesome track. Tim Crawley's the promoter. It's gonna. They've done some upgrades, some respectable upgrades, and it's a quarter mile, long straightaways, tight high bank corners, wall around the top. It should be one of the best races, honestly, out of all four. If you're counting the Power I race, it probably should be the best race of the weekend. If it races, I'm so glad to see this forecast. I'm so glad. Go fuck yourself, Tim.
The Texas Motor Speedway dirt track.
Call me out some more, asshole.
I've had an issue with these racetracks, the Texas, Vegas, Charlotte, dirt tracks. Is this going to be the same where it's a shitty surface, bumpy, ruddy, dusty, not great? Or is Texas going to be an exception against Vegas and Charlotte?
Texas it's evolved over the years. I don't think that they're allowed, because like I was at the ending of the year race and it was okay, but they did a lot of extensive work. They were always on top of the track, so it might turn into a national farming session. But I don't think you're going to see it. I don't think they're allowing it to rubber down and be single file.
What about rocks? Are we going to have?
I don't think you have that same issue at TMS. You never know, though. It's these NASCAR tracks. These are the bastard child, so they don't really care about them. And
they get used twice a year, maybe.
Yeah, you don't know. You just don't know.
It's just not been great. Charlotte, with their challenges with the surface the last few years, trying to fix it, not getting it right, whatever, And then Vegas, we saw that kind of disaster the way that went in the spring. You would think the facilities and what they are, that they would be ready to go for this stuff. And they built the damn things to be purpose built to be a dirt track. Like it just blows my mind that they're not prepared. Like we see our,
and I've heard it's a very big cost to even race at these tracks if you're renting them. It's like $11,000 or something to turn the lights on and shit. It's like,
sure, they spend all that money, it just sits there.
Well, and if you want to come there early and work the track, it's an additional charge, like kind of like that type of shit. So I don't know how true that is.
Surrounding a NASCAR weekend, you would want to add more entertainment,
right? And it could be different. Kyle's involved, and it's high limit. So, I mean, but the dirt down there has traditionally been an issue, and mainly due to it going rubber down like instantly. I was there for the Power I National race, and it was taking rubber after the second heat race and eating tires. So it's a saw blade to tires, and that's why I think they do so much working on it when the high limit series is there.
Well,
you'll have some breaks. Get your popcorn ready. You'll have some breaks.
Okay. And then The Outlaws are at Eldora this week for Let's Race 2 with USAC. Looking cooler, maybe some showers on Friday, but I think we're pretty good. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a weatherman here. All I do is look at some weather apps and when I do these things. So
Yeah.
but that'll be on Dirt Vision. I'm excited for this one. And I'm trying to talk these guys to go at least trying to go Saturday, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But it's always a good show when you got them and USAC together.
I might be going south. I don't like that weather. 61 degrees. I don't care if Tony wants
It's gonna be
to show
chilly,
me the
yeah.
sweets. That's cold, man. I
Yeah.
want to be warm. Is that highs or is that race
That's
time?
highs. That's high temperature. Yeah.
All right, I ain't going to Eldora no more. Sorry. I might go to 67 Speedway, get an interview with Tim.
And that's it. So we do this thing on the show every week. We call it Drink It or Dump It.
Oh, God.
It. Somebody you want to give a shout out to for the week. Dump it to somebody who you want to dump it out. They had a bad week or you're pissed off at them, whatever. It could be whatever you want. Everybody in the chat, go ahead, put yours in. Usually it's pretty fun. I'm going to do mine real quick. I want to give a shout out to some of the T2T gang that were with me yesterday at Port Royal. Steph and Justin and Matt had a good time down there. First late model National Touring Series race. I had a great time. And then dump it to Eric Knopf, 305 driver at Sealands Grove. He had to get cut out of his car. He is okay. But glad to hear everything went well there. I let some layups for you guys, so you guys go ahead.
I'm going to drink it to Ashton Torgenson because I talked to Chaz last night on the phone a little bit. I can't recall a time that an upset like that around here has happened that just doesn't make sense like this. I've seen Buddy win at Lincoln. I've seen Justin win at Lincoln, but they're established race car drivers. They've been around. They've done it. It's been hard for them. It wasn't easy. They didn't walk into the place, and just win at any of these places. For him to get that win in that fashion was just, it's worth it. Drink it, for sure. Dump it, man. Cooper Shoe. This is a name that you guys may or may not know. Chaz, I don't expect you to know this name, but young guy, has a wingless sportsman, wrecked a car first time out for the year, was late getting out for the year, wrecked it. Hopefully he is able to get it, but I don't know how bad it was. He kind of mentioned, I don't know what's next, but it sucks. Young guy trying to figure his way into the racing world, putting all his resources together as a really young guy. Kind of jumped over, hit the wall, and flipped maybe, whatever. So we'll dump it to Cooper, and hopefully he's back out on the racetrack soon.
Yeah.
So drink it is like what you're proud of, and dump it is like what you're sad about?
Yeah, kind of like
something
drinking
great.
your cheers into somebody who had a good weekend, dump it to somebody who had a bad weekend.
I'll drink it to Jacob Allen for coming on the show and finally speaking up. Because he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't really talk a lot. So drink it for Jacob Allen to coming onto the show, and dump it for the aura of David Gravel for starting on the pole in front of the world and allowing Kyle to come up there and spank your ass in front of the fucking entire viewing nation. Most depressing thing. And we could throw in there Carson Macedo getting out of the car and admitting that they're not any good.
What was this thing on socials like a month ago about his 5'1" ass beating your ass or something like that?
He's always talking shit. That's David. He's always talking shit.
Fair enough. I found that kind of funny. Both ways. I thought yours was good, what you said, and I found it comical what he said. I was like, oh
yeah,
I like
Ginger
it.
Kitty, the Ginger Kitty.
I like the fire, man. I like it.
Practical Nymph says, drink it to the Chaz.
Oh no. Well, thanks.
Santo says, drink it to Ashton getting the win. Dump it to Dylan Sissy not having a ride anymore. Is he out of that ride already?
He
and then honorable drink it to mention always to the T2T boys. Thank you, Santo.
Sisney has said I'm out and left after that night, after the race.
The whole basically
B-main.
got pace lap in, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Marie says, drink it to Ashton, dump it to anyone who had a bad race day. Brandon Zirk, drink it to Tony Jackson. That's a good one. He ran double duty with USAC East Coast, but on his wingless win. And dump it to Danny Dietrich, his terrible qualifying both Saturday and Sunday. Brad Weatherby, and this is what I was going to get to next. Drink it to T2T Chaz and good racing this week. Also to Vertical for Life Musical Festival this week. Dump it to people that still want to trash tracks for making business decisions. Yes. Also, Vertical for Life. If you don't know, if you're new to the show, Vertical for Life, awesome foundation here, helping veterans in need of any kind of assistance that they may need. Trying to prevent veteran suicide is the main thing, and getting them any assistance that they need back in the civilian world. Having their second annual music festival this weekend in Mechanicsburg, 80 Glendale Drive. It's $15 to get in. Starts at 11:30. Bunch of acts. Hilly Nelson, Matt Jameson, AJ Cassette, the Colt Wilbur Band, Steele, Dave Gates, and Hank the Buffalo. Definitely go check it. Go to Vertical for Life if you can't make it to the festival. Still, you could go support this cause. verticalforlife.com. That's vertical, 4, life.com. Definitely check it out. And if you are around in the area, go check out this music festival. It's definitely something to go check out. Let's get to a couple more. Night Owl says, drink it to the career resurgence of the Kunkletown Kid. 69K will have an effect, man. Like, how about it? I mean, Ryan Smith, we know he has talent. You know, he just hasn't had, you know, a lot of opportunity around here in the past few years. And yeah, you put him in the 69K and it shows, man, he's still got it. Daniel Lee, both at BAPS, drink it to Superfly Kobe Fry on the modified win and dump it to Preston Latimus for his engine issues. Mandy says, drink it all weekend winners. Ryan Smith, Torgerson, Tony Jackson, Green 69K design, Lance DeWeese. The firefighters involved in fighting the fires. And then dump it to all the wrecks, car breakdowns, Mother Nature again, and Williams Grove and Lincoln, canceling my DraftKings NASCAR picks. Yeah. Mine went away as soon as did you win?
Again, winner.
Mine went away with friggin' Ryan Blaney.
For Talladega, you close your eyes and click the buttons, and you hope you win at the end. And I was the winner, baby. Let's go.
And then last one, Tyler Koenig, Kobe Fry getting his first modified win at BAPS and dump it to continued weather issues for many racetracks around the country. Is Ryan racing this weekend, even though Seabell's also racing? I would imagine probably not.
I would think
they're
not.
not really. I know they have two cars, but usually that's one just.
Maybe Cassidy will be out. Cassidy might run this weekend.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know though.
I would imagine not. They're probably
probably be on the road with
Seabell there. You know what I mean? I can't imagine Ryan racing this weekend.
Yeah,
but you never know. Who knows?
Next week, right? Next week, hopefully, we have Aaron Bollinger and Donald Livingston on to preview, potentially preview the upcoming, firefighters.
I think it would be the week after because
the 7th or
because that's Outlaw week. I think it'll be the weekend after.
The 5th. Oh, you're right. We're gonna have them on the 12th. 2 weeks. Well, I previewed 2 weeks from now.
Either way, yes.
Aaron Bollinger
up soon.
Donald Livingston for the Fallen Firefighters tribute race at Lincoln. We're going to do a pre-race show there. We'll kind of be on the microphone a little bit, interviewing some drivers, having a parking lot party at Lincoln that day. So
all-day tailgate at Lincoln.
We'll get those guys on the show a little bit, talk about that event and what the money they're raising for the Fallen Firefighters race. That's always a cool event at Lincoln. So next week, maybe just a normal show, and then we'll get a guest on the week after, and we'll be into Outlaw season.
Yeah.
Well into it.
Chaz, we definitely drink it to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
This was a lot of fun getting to know you.
Hope 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
we used to have these shows like 3 hours a lot, and we've been like trim it down. We could do this every week. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you spending the time, man. You have your own stuff going on, your own show. We appreciate it so much, man. And Maybe one day I'll get Chris to. I don't know where Chris went. He just died, I guess. I haven't even gotten a text or a Discord.
He's an amoeba. He just floats around.
He saw the Interstate Batteries paint scheme. That's what happened. We ain't seen him since it came out.
He gone. We'll get him to call in one night and talk to you for a couple hours. We'll get him to ring in. So on your show, that'll be fun.
Okay,
we appreciate you, man.
Who is he? I knew y'all. I didn't know who that guy was.
He's our special friend, but he's our friend, right? He's the special one.
Special. I would keep that one. Friend.
Chris
I'm
is
not
one
sure.
of the original co-hosts of the show.
Oh, okay.
He's been kind of in and out with work and stuff like
life
that.
and things. But this Chaz, a little bit of background. We're not that big, but we're growing, and you know it is fairly just small time, right? We life and whatever. But
got to start somewhere.
This started with Jimmy and Chris and a third guy, Josh, and it was more NASCAR oriented, iRacing NASCAR. And Josh kind of had some things going on in life, and they brought me on as sort of a guest one day, and we're talking about local dirt, and it sort of evolved, and it really gained a lot of traction in PA. There's a demand for the content for this style in PA. There's some things go, and they kind of fall off the map, and we've kind of stuck with it. So we're here. Made a lot of friends with it for sure. We have a good time. So
well, and we got to have the regular stuff. I feel like there's this weird push. I feel like Jacob Allen kind of pointed it out, where he was like, you, Jeremy Elliott, and Dirt Tracker. I feel like there is this. I talked to Jeremy about this. He's like, it seems like that's going to start happening in dirt, because it does seem to be there are those three big guys in it right now. And I'm not saying I'm bigger than any of them. Our Dirt Tracker's leading the charge, obviously.
Sure.
If we go on numbers, it's then me, then it's Jeremy. But regardless, those seem to be the three big ones in the sprint car world for sure right now. Hopefully they don't lump us all together, because I feel like we all kind of do different things.
You all do different things.
Very much. But it's a niche sport. It is a niche. So you're kind of like, hey, you guys are very different, but it's a niche sport. So you kind of get put in that box of like sprint car guys, dirt guys. You're a little bit, right?
Right. Well, and I touch on the late models. Obviously, Dirt Track does a little bit. Dirt Tracker does as well a little bit. But, he's more so worried, like, if anything's talked about, it's all of our fault. Because that's kind of how Jacob came across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wait, who said you should shut the team down? Why are you yelling at me?
It's like in like the NFL or something like that. It's the players are always against the media. That's kind of
but then they can single out like Stephen A. They could single out Colin Cowherd or the guys who are the main ones leading it or whatever. They could say it's their fault. Like, it's like, I didn't represent the whole fuck Kel Thomas deal. I mean, people were saying fuck this shit and shut the team down. I didn't do that. Dirt Tracker did it either, and neither did Jeremy. But because we're the guys up here, we're getting taking the label. Yeah, we're getting. And I'm the easiest one, because I act the wildest and say the craziest shit of all three for sure. And I'll probably get the most out of all of it. But we still need the other guys who are gonna talk and work together, and all media entities. I mean, especially you in the photography business, all media is like treated like shit in dirt track racing. I mean, it's bad. The cameramen don't get fucking half what they should get compensated. They're spending 10 grand on a fucking setup and getting their shit ripped off and used or whatever. Hell, I rip your shit off for fucking thumbnails. Kiss my ass. No, I'm just playing. But
I don't care.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's like right. Media in racing is the one thing where you get like close to no recognition, but all the blame for a lot of bullshit. And it's like, I think media needs to work together. And I think even a Jacob Allen needs to realize, a lot of these drivers need to realize that if you work with the media guys, if you don't like what the big entities are doing, if you work with the media guys, you could actually do some shit,
And we're happy to talk about the good as much as we would ever, unfortunately, have to talk about the stuff that we don't like or the fans don't like. But we would rather listen. We talk about.
Let's be real about the shit. Stop fucking falsity.
That's right, and it's not always going to be good. There's going to be things that don't go well, and fans want to have an opinion. And when he came on your show, was like, I heard you were talking shit, and you're like, what? That was from my post that people were going to shut the team down on my post that had 300 comments, and he was like, He called into your show because he was just mad and thought you were talking shit. You're like, the fuck did I do?
I said, I read your comment. Seems like you're pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you and Dirt Tracker and Jeremy Elliott, even Dirt Tracker admitted it on his show today. Apparently he's calling me out or however he does it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to his today. I'll have to go back and watch it now, listen to it now. But
he serves a purpose. I mean, I watch Dirt Tracker. If I ain't
Same.
paying attention for a day, fuck it. Let's see what's happening,
Yeah,
But
every day.
But if I want to hear somebody talk about the deep dark secrets and calling out the bullshit, then I'd probably watch me or I mean, that's the content shit, that's how it is. There's different roles, so it is what it is, but it's definitely the egos need to go away a little bit. They need to accept some stardom. It's like I don't know if you listened to the whole Jacob thing, but we got into it. I was like, so how do you think a fucking quarterback in the NFL survives? I mean, something goes wrong on a Sunday in the NFL and they're calling for the fucking GM's job. The quarterback needs to be fired, get rid of him. And they're doing that to millions of people on national television. I said, how do you think they handle it? Yeah. And if y'all can't handle it, maybe this is the test where you don't pass.
Buddy, I didn't get to that part apparently, but that was conversations we had here. Like this was a minor setback in the scheme of things. And people didn't like it, and you're losing your mind over why I can't understand people don't like the way this went. Like,
I mean, and here's the deal:
can't believe people
even if Jacob Allen didn't like it, the best thing he did was come on and say something and talk about the shit.
Yeah,
that's the best option he had because at least people get to feel why he's so pissed off. Maybe can understand it, can maybe see what he's talking about, and let him judge with some information.
Yeah.
If you just stay quiet, they're just going to fucking speculate because that's all they can do is speculate. You're giving them nothing to base the truth on.
The best thing he said there was it wasn't that he got so mad about anybody said about him. It was that he felt they were disrespecting Bobby through the whole thing. And really, we probably were because he's really
but nobody
the one making
thinks
the calls.
that.
Huh?
Nobody thinks that's why he's upset until he comes out and fucking tells everybody that's why.
100%.
So, I mean,
100%.
That's on them. If they don't want to fucking jump up and do some shit, then, I mean, they're going to continue to have people speculate and continue to have people talk shit and not know what they're talking about because you're not telling them anything to think.
And you can't say you don't care, but when you come on and say you don't care, but you're on there because you do care. So, just accept.
Yeah, there was some. I mean, it's Jacob Allen. He's not. I mean, he's smart, but
sure.
He's not used to talking a lot. So he may have stepped on himself here and there. He's just, rambling and it seems like a highly emotional scenario.
And he's new at this. This is a new world on top of all the new worlds
all of it
for the last decade, right? A little bit of stardom, success, failure, Logan's success. And he's, there's been a lot of weird little dynamics. And now this is a whole nother dynamic that he chose. But now it's like I'm not just the driver anymore, and I can handle people say about me. But now I'm team running and representing Bobby and myself, and like it's another new dynamic. That's a new world, right?
Well, and like I said, is there an ounce of guilt on this scenario because this is happening because you stepped away?
Yeah,
we wouldn't be trying to find a new driver for the 1A if you didn't want to quit the wheel. So is that why you're upset? Because you feel responsible for the scenario in the first place?
After releasing the 100 race schedule and sponsors paid the year and ready to go, and now you're out in April.
And I made that point on the previous show. I was like, the trust with this team is slowly, what are y'all, after the Kel Thomas thing? I mean, you already had the Jacob deal happen where he backed away, but then he's back, and then he's back for sure, and then maybe not, and then now he's not, now he is, and now Kel Thomas is driving, now he's not, now it's Rent-A-Car, now it's Ashton. I mean, you expect to do all that, and everybody just okay, sir.
Whatever. Yeah.
Only the diehards said, yeah, you can do whatever they want. I don't give a shit. Oh, really? What if that was somebody you knew close to you that was the driver and got kicked out in 3 days? How would you feel then?
Right.
Maybe you're close to the driver. I know you're close to the owner and you like the owner and you do anything to support him. But what if the tables were turned and they hired a driver, your favorite guy of all time, and they kicked him out in three races? How would you feel then about that?
Oh, yeah, it'd be bad. It'd be bad.
A lot of his fans would have a different perspective. I guarantee it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of unknowns there. And what you just said about like, hey, what do other people in the sport think or other drivers. Exactly what I said last week on here about like it's going to give people pause. I've seen what recent history looked like. Is that what this is going to be?
Right.
It's okay if I finish 15th, but don't wreck it.
Right.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's over. Moving on.
Alrighty.
We're going to watch Eldora this weekend and anywhere else. Get to your favorite track. I don't care where you go. Go to the racetrack. Get a ticket. Enjoy your racing.